Hey, what's up, guys? It's John here. Sorry, had some technical difficulties on the last Hangout. Questions were disabled, so we go ahead and restarted it. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a third-person survival shooter game from scratch using artwork from the asset store and some of the artwork from my book. It's going to be a really cool game. We're going to go ahead and do everything from primitive objects to creating like a prototype to replacing it with 3D models. We're going to get into animations. We're going to do a complete menu. We're going to get into audio. We're going to do a lot of cool different, props in this game, and we're going to go and make a full game here. So this will probably be a pretty long session, but it should be interesting to hear how I want to design it and go through everything. And if you have questions or anything like that, you can just ask in the QA here. I'm going to go ahead and just disable Skype here so it doesn't bother us. Alrighty, and what we're going to do, give me 1 second here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. So the first thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm just going to go and create here a folder structure. So I'm going to go ahead and just have, we're going to have our scenes folder. We're going to go and create a scripts folder. I'm going to need a materials folder. Probably need a textures folder for my textures. What else do I need? I got my texture. I probably need a models folder for the 3D models I'm going to use. So we got our scenes, our materials, we got our models, we have scripts, and we have textures. And I think that's going to be okay for now. Oh, and we need our prefabs, right? Reusable objects. All right, so here's my folder structures. I'm pretty happy with that. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start. Just going to go ahead and start. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a floor using a cube. And the reason why I do this is it's really just a preference. I could use a plane if I wanted to. What would really be better is if I had like a modeled terrain to use. But I don't, and maybe at the end of this we can go on the asset store together and find a modeled pack or something like that. But what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to go ahead and just create the the primitive prototype and then replace the artwork using the cube as the floor. So I'm going to go and add a directional light here, and I'm just going to rotate that a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and move that off to 500, and I'm going to go on the cube here. I'm going to scale this to about 50. All right, so this is going to be my walking area. And we are going to create everything from scratch. We're going to create a third-person character controller where you can use your mouse to look around up and down and stuff like that. And what I'm going to do actually first is I'm going to give my ground some textures that I have. So I'm going to go and bring those in. I have 2 textures for my floor to give me a nice concrete floor. So I'm going to go and put these into my textures folder. Whoops. All right. So what I have here is I have a normal map and a here we go. Yeah, so we have a courtyard floor and then we have a courtyard floor normal map. And actually I have a couple of these and we can see how this one looks. If it doesn't look that great, I have another one we can get. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new material. So I'm going to go here, material, and we're going to name it ground. All right, and I have two material textures. I have 2 textures to give this a real-like texture quality. But as you can see here on the cube, in my ground material, I only have 1. So I need to change the shader to bumped diffuse. And you'll see here it says it's looking for a courtyard. It's looking for a normal map and a main, right, in the base. So the base is going to be this one, and then the normal map will be this one. All right, let's just hit fix now. All right, so I'm going to go and add this on the cube here. All right, you'll see how it looks in the scene view. It looks okay, but in the game view, it looks all fuzzed out. Okay, Kelton says he will create the terrain free for everyone else to use as well. If he does that, he can send me the link, and I will gladly share that with everyone. Thank you. So what we're going to do is, to fix this blurred, I'm going to space out the tiling by about 10. And I'm going to do that for the normal map as well. And when I do that, you'll see it gives me more of a more of a nicer texture in the game view. And I actually don't like this material, so I'm actually going to go ahead and get a different one in here. Give me a minute. Let's go into here. I'm going to use these two. I'm going to use concrete instead. I think it might look better. All right, and these are all on the asset store, guys. You can find these, or you can just Google search for stuff, and you'll find it really quickly. So I'm going to get rid of the courtyard ones. I don't like those. All right, let's go ahead and try the dark concrete ones. So go over here, dark concrete. All right, that's how it looks now. Once I add the normal map, all right, and I hit fix, it looks more realistic. All right, and I'm happy with this. So we're going to go and keep this. All right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and create our character controller now. All right, and for this, I'm not going to use a rigid body. I'm going to use the character controller component, and I'm going to create my own physics-based character. So what we need to do here is rename this to ground. I'm going to go ahead and create a capsule here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and position him to 0, 1.75, and 0. All righty, and then let's go ahead and rename that to player. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go ahead and just create the, we're going to go ahead and create a C# script, and name it player. Attach it to the player, and this is going to be his movement. Put in the scripts folder. All right, and before I do anything, I'm going to remove his capsule collider, and I'm going to add the character controller component, which is going to give me access to the move function. The controller.move function is what I'm trying to go after. All right, so here we are in our script here. I'm going to just create a few variables I know that I'm going to need. And actually, before I do that, I never really showed off, and maybe I'll make a separate tutorial just for character controllers that I don't have to waste time here. But basically, the reason why the way I do mine is I use direction and velocity. The example that Unity gives you is a little messy, and it's the same thing as mine, just mine's more neatly written. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here. So what I'm going to do is I have a variable for my initial speed. And I'm going to actually make all my variables private. And I'll explain why in just a second. So I'm going to go and say private float speed. And then we have our jump height, how high we can jump. We have private float, we have speed, we have jump height. I'm not sure what this is like here. Jump height. Okay. And then we have here, we have gravity. That's going to be equal to 1.0 f. Let's say jump height equals 10.0 f. Speed equals 5.0 f. All right. So we have our speed, we have our jump height, and we have our gravity. And I need access to my character controller. So I'm going to say private character controller, and then underscore controller. All right, and I need to assign it. So controller equals get component, character controller. All righty. All right, so here we go. In update, I want to control my user based on user input. All right, so I need access. I want to be able to use the WSAD keys and the arrow keys too if I choose to. The easiest way to do that is through the input.getAccess horizontal and vertical accesses. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here. So we're going to go ahead and say here, float age equals input.getAccess. We're going to say horizontal. Then float v for vertical equals input.getAccess. Then we have vertical. Vertical. All right. And I want to move in the direction, which is a change in position based on those values. So I have to create a position variable. So I'm going to say vector3 and then direction. And the direction is a new vector3 based on my user input. So along the x-axis, it's going to be h, 0 for the y-axis, and forward direction is my up and down arrow keys or WS keys. All right. Now what I can do is I can create velocity, which is also its speed with direction, which is still a change in position. So I'm saying vector3 velocity equals direction times my speed. That's what velocity is. Now that I have that, I can actually go ahead and just move myself. I can go ahead and say controller.move, and I can move by velocity times time.delta time, 0 time. So if I go ahead and just save this, I'll actually be able to move around now. However, you'll notice I'm floating around. Also, we don't follow we also don't follow the player, which I will be fixing. All right, so let's go ahead and add gravity now. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just create an if statement here, and we're going to basically just check if we're grounded. So if controller.isGrounded is grounded equals true. So if we're grounded, then I can jump, right? So I'm going to do another if statement. So if input.getKeyDown, maybe the space key. So I'm going to the space key. We need to take our velocity on the y and set it to our jump height. Now, I'm not going to actually just do velocity.y because it equals the direction, which is 0 here, which means the velocity on the y is always going to be 0 every frame. So I need to create a variable that caches my y velocity. So I say float_y velocity. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here now is I'm going to say input get key down, and I'm going to go ahead and say my y velocity variable equals my jump height. And then if I'm not grounded, so in else statement, I need to apply gravity. To apply gravity, basically what we're going to do is we just say y velocity minus equals gravity. All right, and before we move, we need to update what our velocity.y value is, and it needs to be our cached value. So I say y velocity. All right, and we should have a perfectly working character controller here. And you'll see now gravity is applied, and we can move around. Okay, let's go ahead and do the camera part. Oh, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and explain real quickly why I'm using private variables for all my variables. The reason why I'm doing this is because in the design process, do these need to be public? If they're public, it means that any script can access the player and change the value. Eventually, I'm going to get into what's called properties, but until then, I'm thinking to myself, like, for instance, if I have a spawn manager or if I have an enemy attack script, does it need access to my player script to change the speed? Is there ever going to be an opportunity for that to happen? So if there's not, then it doesn't make much sense for it to be a public variable. The only reason why most people would make it public is so you can manipulate it and test it in the hierarchy or in the inspector, right? Well, if you want to continue modifying this variable in the inspector, because if we look now and I click on the player, there's no inspector thing for my player. I can't change the speed because it's private. However, if I were to put serialized field above the variable that I want to manipulate in the inspector, now if I go back to it, you can see here I can actually change my speed and I can do whatever I want with it. So if you still want to have your variables private and manipulate them in the inspector, just put serialized field above it and it will allow you to do that. So that's just a really cool trick. And I'm going to use that probably for quite a bit, actually. You'll see me use the serialized field thing for when I need it. Actually, no, I'll go ahead and leave that there because we might want to adjust the speed. All right, so we are pretty much done with our movement script. Before I move on, I'm just going to go ahead and just clean it up here. I'm going to say void movement. All right, and we're going to go ahead and take all this movement function, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. All right, give me just 1 second here. All right, so give me 1 second here. All right, so the next step in this, guys, is we're going to go ahead and create the camera system for this. And the way I'm going to do that is we're going to create a over-the-shoulder third-person camera view, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click on my main camera, and I'm going to set this to about -7, just to get a little closer to him. And then just need to make sure rotation is 0. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the main camera and I'm going to put it inside the player. All right, so now if I run the game, okay, I move around with it. See that? And I can put this to 0, and there we go. All right, so I'm going to put that to 0. I move around with it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a script that allows me to look left and right based on where my mouse is. The way I can do this is I need to get the value on the screen of my x-axis. So for instance, I need to manipulate the y rotation value to look left and right. See that? So the way I can do that is there's an input axis for the horizontal axis of where your mouse is. If it's on the left half of the screen, it's a negative value. If it's on the right half of the screen, it's a positive value. What I want to do is I need to take that value and I need to add it to my rotation value on the Y. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just create a new C# script. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just name this, we'll name it look X, all right, for looking on the X-axis. I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my player. All right, I'm going to go and open that up. All right, now in order for this to work, I need to get the input access of my mouse X. All right, that's in the input manager, and it gives me the value of where my mouse is on the X-axis. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just say, we're going to go ahead and say here, float mouse X equals 0.0f, because it's going to constantly be updated and update. And what I'm going to do now, and I'll actually be able to show you this, I'll go ahead and make this serialized field. We can see it in the inspector, and I'll show you exactly how this works. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go into void update here, and I'm just going to assign it. So I'm going to say mouse X equals the input on the X-axis. I'm going to say get access mouse X. All right, and that's going to be mapped to where my mouse is on the X-axis. So if I run this, you see here that I have, oops, I'm going to stop the game. Let me add the look X script. All right, you see it says 0 now. Now watch what happens when I run it. When I run this, you'll see that the mouse X, based on what side of the screen I am, it gives me a value, negative or positive. You can see it changing. What I need to do is I need to take that value of whatever mouse X is and add it to my rotation value. The way I access the rotation value is through what's called the Euler angles. All right, and the Euler angles, they're just like, the Euler angles, you can think of them as just the rotation axes along the X, Y, and Z. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a temporary variable that's going to hold the rotation of my current player. So I'm going to say vector3 rotation, or we'll say this. We'll say vector3 new rotation equals transform.local Euler angles. So that's my X, Y, and Z rotation values. And I name it new rotation because right now it equals my current ones, but I'm about to adjust it to equal what I want it to be. So I'm going to say new rotation, and I want to modify just the Y. I don't care about the X and the Z. Just the Y, and I'm going to say equals, or I'm going to say plus equals the mouse X variable. All right, and then now I need to actually make it work by saying transform.local Euler angles, which is my current Euler angles, and I need to equal that to the new rotation value. So if I go ahead and save this, you can see now I'll be able to actually move my mouse left and right, and I can control the camera. See that? So that's pretty cool stuff. Dominic wants to know how to use debug.log. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. Thanks for popping in. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and speed it up because it's a little slow. So I'm going to go ahead and actually create a sensitivity variable. So I'm going to go ahead and say private float mouse sensitivity. Sensitivity, yeah. And we're going to set that to 5.0. And all I have to do is I just have to multiply it by mouse sensitivity. So I go and test it out now. There we go, it's much quicker, a lot better. All right, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and create the look Y one. The look Y is the exact same thing, except for the X-axis to look up and down. So we got our look Y here, open that up, and we're doing literally the exact same thing as look X, just changing a few values. So I'm just going to copy these and put it over here. We have our mouse Y. We have our mouse sensitivity variable still. And then here we have mouse Y, new rotation dot X. All right, mouse Y. And we're good. All right. Now I can't put this on my player. And I know that because it doesn't make sense to. Watch what happens when I put on my player. My capsule is getting rotated on the up and down axis. In order to do this, in order to fix this, we need to create a pivot point. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically create we're going to create a separate game object to act as the pivot. All right, so I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to create a empty object inside of the player here. So create empty. I'm going to name it the look Y object. Look Y. Inside of the look Y goes the main camera. And then look Y is going to have the look Y script. And then let me see here. Let me make sure this is correct. Look Y is 0, 0, 0. Main camera didn't get adjusted. This should work, I think. Let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so there we go. And it looks like it's a little inverted, actually. So to fix that, all I got to do is just come down here. And all I got to do is just make it negative. I'll fix that. And yeah, that fixes it. So there you go. So we have our mouse look script. I can look around. I can move around. Now, here we have a problem here. So I'm looking this way, but my forward direction is this way. The reason why this is happening is because of my my local space direction. And if you look here, we have world space and local space. So right now, looking at this object, if I were to go into a world space view here, you can see here's the X and Y plane. Now that's global space. But if you look at local space, look at my X and Y. My X and Y are completely different. My forward direction is going up in the air, whereas the global is the up in the air. I need to take my local and convert it to global. To do that, there's a function called transform direction, which allows me to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go ahead and say velocity equals transform direction, and it's going to ask me for a vector 3 direction. What direction do I want to translate from local space to world space? And that's going to be my velocity. So my velocity is going to be updated to world space. And I'm going to move through my velocity. So by doing this, now I can actually move. Oh, hold on, actually something's not right. I do. Transform direction velocity. Let me see something. Oh, I still have the look Y script on my player. Okay, now we should test it out and it should work okay. Perfect. All right, so now if I look in this direction, just holding the forward key, I can go in any direction I want. So there we go. I'm done with the character controller part. Now I can go ahead and possibly start doing the AI for the enemy. And actually, real quickly, you'll notice my mouse cursor is kind of in the way of everything. It's pretty annoying. And actually, before I do the enemy, I'm going to go ahead and create crosshair here. I'm actually going to go ahead and, when I start the game, I'm going to hide or lock my crosshair. And when I hit the escape key, I'm going to unhide it. So to do that, I'm just going to go in here in player, and in void update here, I'm going to go ahead and say, void start, I'm going to lock it. I'm going to go ahead and say here, screen.lockCursor equals true. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say here, and I'm going to use a ternary operator to make this simple actually. What I can do here is I can, if I hit the escape key, I'm just going to set it to true, and if it's already true, it's going to go false. And the way I do that is like this. I'm going to say if input.getKeyDown, decode.escape. And so if you have the escape key, we want the screen.lockCursor value to be true or false based on the current value. So screen.lockCursor equals screen.lockCursor equals true. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not right. Hold on. Ternary operator is going to be screen.lockCursor equals a true or false value. So it's screen.lockCursor equals screen.lockCursor. Hold on. Screen.lockCursor equals true. I think you can just do true question mark. Oh, false. I think we can do that. No, it doesn't like that. Screen.lockCursor. Oh my gosh, I can't remember how to do a ternary operator here. Give me a minute. Screen.lockCursor equals true. Oh, okay, I gotta say that. So equals screen.lockCursor equals true. The two equal signs. What is wrong with this? Screen.lock cursor equals true, else false. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna figure out how to do this ternary operator. It's gonna drive me nuts. The way I'm gonna do that, I'm actually gonna go to the MSDN reference real quick and look it up. So I'm gonna come on over to here. You can see here, and we're gonna go to Google, and we're gonna look at ternary operator, MSDN. Figure out why this isn't working. So it's the condition, first expression, second expression. It's basically an if-else statement without the thing. The condition must evaluate to true or false. If condition is true, first expression is evaluated and becomes the result. If condition is false, second one. So what we're going to do here is classic. So we're going to say classify equals, yeah, so it should be screen.lock cursor equals screen.lock cursor equals true, else false. So equals screen.lock cursor equals true, and make it, if it's true, then make it false, else you need to make it true. All right, there we go. Beast. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. So at the start of the game here, my cursor is locked. All right, and then what I'm going to do here is we are going to hit escape key, and my cursor comes back. If I hit the escape key again, my cursor doesn't lock. I'm not sure why. It's a bug. It should be locking, but I'm actually not going to worry about it. It's fine because I need to be able to turn my game off. But what's important is that when I start it, there's no cursor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a crosshair, and this crosshair is going to be centered in the middle of the screen. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to select between a few crosshairs that I have. I'm going to put them in my textures folder. We're going to go ahead and say, what crosshair do we want to use? I'm going to go ahead and use, okay, we're going to go ahead and use this one, I think. Let's try this one out. This crosshair is from my book. We're going to use this one. All right, it looks like this, just a black box. Just kidding. We got to go ahead and here we're using it on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and use the GUI editor. Here I'm going to hit apply, and this is what it's going to look like. All right, obviously that's way too big though, so I'm going to just bring it down like 64 by 64. All right, and that might still be too big, 32 by 32. All righty, and I'm going to do true color and see if that fixes anything. Nope. Alrighty. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go ahead and center my crosshair directly in the center of the screen because that's where I'm actually going to be shooting. I'm going to cast a ray directly through the center, which is going to act where my gun is. I'm taking the model from the Angry Bots demo, who has a gun on his waist, and that's what we're going to be shooting from. And we'll give the illusion of that, but actually you're shooting from the camera using raycasting. So we still have, Kelton has an island model. When I get to that, I would check that out. And if it's any, if it's an actual model that's legit, then I will gladly give that to everyone. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go and create a GUI manager that's going to handle every GUI event, all right, including centering the crosshair. So I'm going to go ahead and say GUI manager. All right, and we're going to go ahead here. We're going to say player. We're going to put this on the main camera. All right, it's going to handle all the GUI stuff. Before I can display the crosshair, the camera needs to know what the crosshair is. So I'm going to say here, public texture 2D. All right, it's going to be, and I can just say texture if I want, public texture crosshair. All right, I can assign that in the inspector, which I'll do after this. And I don't really need void start or void update, I don't believe. I might later though, so I'll keep them there. I'm going to go ahead and say void on GUI. And yes, I'm using the legacy GUI just because I don't have the artwork for, I don't have the updated artwork for the 4.6 menu, so I'm going to use the old one. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to GUI.draw texture. All right, and the texture I'm going to draw, or the position first, is going to be new rectangle, And we're going to go ahead and say we want it directly in the center of the screen. So in order to do that, I need to actually do a little bit of calculations to get the center on the x-axis and the y-axis. To do that, I'm going to say float x equals the crosshair. I'm sorry, we're going to say the screen dot width, the width of the screen, minus the crosshair dot width. Right? And once I get that value, to get the center, all I got to do is divide it by 2. And same for the y. Float y equals, we have screen dot height minus the crosshair's height. Right? And then all we got to do is divide by 2. That gives us a very nice centered on the y as well. Now I can come back here and I can say new rect x, y, the width and height of the rectangle is going to be the width and height of the actual image. So crosshair dot width, crosshair dot height. And then the content is going to be the crosshair. All right, if I go over here, click on the main camera, let's go ahead and assign my crosshair. And if I run this, it's going to be directly in the center of the screen. See that? Now we have a problem now. Right? It's obviously in the middle of my player, and we can't have that. So we need to adjust my look wide to give us a more over-the-shoulder view. To do this, basically all we got to do is I'm just going to go over here, look Y. I'm going to just change the position to 1, 0.5, just to give me like a more over-the-shoulder view. And we can bring them a little closer. So now if I run it, it's going to be directly in the center, and there we go. That should actually work okay. All right. Okay, so we have our crosshair directly in the center of the screen. I can go ahead and shoot stuff. Nothing's actually happening right now though, but we can go ahead and get started on doing our rifle script. Let's go and then we'll do the enemy AI next. Okay, so I have a crosshair here, and I need to be able to shoot directly through the center of that crosshair. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a rifle script. And this rifle script is going to be a pretty basic rifle script you can probably use in almost any game. Eventually, we're going to create an ammunition system and all that cool stuff towards the end when we start polishing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead here, create my rifle script, and I'm going to attach that to the player. All right, and the way I shoot is when you hit the left mouse button down, you cast a ray. So if I left click, put the get mouse button down. If I left click, then what happens? If I left click, then you can cast a ray. And just a heads up, guys, for the viewers that are here, it's probably Dominic and Kelton. Feel free to go ahead and promote the live stream. Be really cool. If we can get more people, I would be glad to do some giveaways. But okay, so back to this. So when you left click down, what we're going to do here is we are going to cast a ray. So I'm going to cast a ray, and then I can name it ray origin. All right, and then I'm also going to need to know what I hit. So I'm going to store that in hit info. And I need to cast it through I need to cast it directly through the center of the screen, which is my viewport, right? My main camera, what you can actually see, that's your view. So I'm going to go and say camera.main.screen. I'm sorry, not screen. We want to do viewport. So I'm going to say viewport point to ray, which is the viewport of my screen. I'm going to convert it to a raycast, and it's asking me for a vector 3 position. I'm going to say 0.5 on the x, 0.5 on the y, and 0 for z. All right, z is just the depth. What this does is this is basically saying the viewport point to ray is saying my viewport, I'm going to cast the ray half on my center and half on my y. 0.5 is the middle on the x-axis, 0.5 is the middle on the y-axis, and then the z is just depth. So what I'm doing there is I'm just casting the ray directly through the center of the screen, right? And that's exactly lining up where my crosshair is. So it's pretty neat. Now what I'm going to do here, and actually this is going to be really interesting when I show you some visuals I have from when we do the enemy AI. So what we have here now is we have our mouse button down and we're casting a ray. Right now I need to just actually check for collision. So if what I'm going to say here is basically if hit info not equal null. right? So if we hit something, right? If hit info not equal null, meaning we actually hit something, then what am I going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and debug.log, the name of the object I hit. Hit, and let's go ahead and say plus hitInfo.collider.name. The only thing right now I can hit is the floor. So that's what should happen. Let's go ahead and test it out. Oh, my bad. Wow. I totally forgot to cast the ray. If physics.raycast, right, we want ray origin, we want out hit info, and then we can add a distance. So how far do we want? And I'm going to do layer masks in this video too, or in this live stream. How far do we want? So we're going to go ahead and say, we can create a variable for that we'll be able to change. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, private float distance. And for now, we're just going to say 50 units. Right, so 50 meters. All right, so our bullets, we can shoot a distance of 50. And then here, I'm going to serialize it so I can edit it in the inspector if we need to. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to say distance. All right, let's see what I'm watching. What sort of games we made? All right, so, oh, is that John? Hey, John, welcome to the chat. I'm creating, if you're just tuning in, we're creating a third-person survival game from scratch that's going to be complete with artwork, a finished game entirely. So yeah, thanks for joining. Feel free to share more of the channel so we can get more viewers. It'd be pretty cool. All right, so what I'm doing here is we're creating the rifle script. So if physics.raycast, right? So if you cast your ray, if it hits something, and all I want to do is I just want to debug the log, the object we hit, which is right now we can only hit the floor. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and let's go ahead and test this out. Viewport point to ray takes 3 arguments. Camera.main.viewport point to ray. What's it not like? Let's see here. What is it not like? Can't see it. If input to gamma's button down, ray origin equals camera.main.viewport point to ray. All right, let's head on over to here. Physics.raycasting, Unity 3D. Let's find out where I went wrong. This is screen point to ray. We don't want that. That's for mouse position. We don't want screen point to ray. We want viewport. Where's the viewport example? All right, let's see here. Unity 3D, viewport point to ray. Here we go. Oh, right. I'm missing the new vector 3. Duh. Alrighty. My bad. There we go. New vector 3. And now we should be good. And oh my god, kill me. Alrighty, hold on. These need to be floats. Alright, we're good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and run this. Okay, cool. Kelton just submitted some terrain, it looks like. So if it's anything legit, like I said, with the island he created, I'll go ahead and we'll use that. Thanks a lot, Kelton, for helping out. So now I'm going to go ahead and shoot, and you'll see I hit the ground. Now, that's obviously the only thing I can hit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Pretty much our player is set here. I can also jump. I can shoot the ground. I can shoot through this scene. And I can move around. I can look up and down if I want. I can look up, move around with my mouse, and move with the WSAD keys. We're finished with the player for now. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to create the enemy AI. All right, and the enemy AI is going to function just like the player minus the user input. And eventually we're going to be able to kill him, and we're going to get into the 3D models pretty soon. All right, so what I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and create the enemy AI. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, here's my player. I'm going to go ahead and create a cube object for now. All right, this is going to be he's going to act as the enemy until I replace him as a 3D model. All right, so he's like right there. Let's go ahead and say 7 up to 2. Okay. And let's go ahead, we can give them a material. Let's go ahead and just make them red for now. Material, name it enemy, get it all red. And here, if we want, we can even create a material for our player, make it blue. All right, I'm going to explain the AI logic because I have some illustrations that we can look at. It's pretty cool. The player is going to be kind of bluish, so it's going to do that. All right, I like these colors. All right, here we go. So let's rename this to enemy. Before I can do the enemy, I need to know a little bit of math in order to calculate the direction for the enemy to travel. There's a formula that you can use that's called the displacement formula. If you've ever taken physics or calculus, I think, or even trigonometry, you may have used it. There's a displacement formula, and the displacement formula pretty much says that the change in direction is the destination subtracted from the source. And what that looks like in script is if I go ahead and create an enemy AI script here, we're going to go ahead and implement the displacement formula. So enemy AI. All right, and what we're going to do here, this is the displacement formula. It's the delta x, right? So you know that delta x symbol. And actually, see here, should have something that shows it. Let's go to Google. There we go here. Displacement formula physics. Okay, so the displacement formula is it quadratic? No. Hold on, these are constants. We don't need these. Very annoying. Can't just find a simple thing. Here, once I'll write it out how it looks. Let me find the delta symbol. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to take this symbol here, and what it looks like is delta x equals x1 minus, or x2 minus x1, right? And this is called the displacement formula in physics or whatever math class you eventually learn it. And what we can do is this is actually how you calculate direction. In English, what that says is change in direction equals the destination minus the source. The destination in our case for the enemy, so direction is a vector 3. So for the enemy, we're going to have a direction, and the destination is going to be the player. And we're going to subtract the player minus the source, which is the enemy. And that's going to give us a line that we're going to travel. All right, and what we can do is I also have, I have some images that will actually describe that even better. And what we can do is we get that line, and then we can travel across that line using the move function. So it's pretty cool. Here's how you calculate direction. All right, so we have these images here that can explain it. And also, if you're not familiar, if you guys know that formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, Pythagorean theorem, it's actually the displacement formula in disguise. It's how you calculate distance. So what you can see here is in the first image here, this is what we have. All right, the player's there, the enemy's there. It's the red. I'm the blue player. Enemy is the red. And what you can do is that forms a right triangle in the system. All right, forms a right triangle. And what you can do is you can actually calculate that using a squared plus b squared. The hypotenuse is the line, which is also the distance between the player and the enemy. And you can use the displacement formula to easily calculate this through code. And what you'll do is you'll get these numbers. These are just hypothetical plots, and you'll get the direction length, which is your magnitude. And what we're going to want to do is do something called normalizing a vector, which is going to set the length to 1. And I'll explain why you normalize it when I get to it. So what I can do is I can literally take this formula, which is direction equals destination minus source, and code it in just like that. So for our enemy, there's a few things he needs. He needs the speed, so private float speed equals, let's say, 2.5f, so he's a little slower than our player. I'll serialize that so we can edit it in the inspector. All right, we also need gravity for him. So private float gravity equals 1.0f. He can't jump, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to bring in our y cached velocity. So y velocity equals 0.0f, and then I need the character controller. that the enemy will have. All right. Now, when coding this AI script, I need to pretend that I'm the enemy, and right now the player is our target. Right? I'm the enemy, and the player is the enemy for me. Like I'm the enemy, and the player is the bad guy in this case. What I need to do is I need to take that displacement function. Right? Again, that's direction equals destination minus the source, and that's going to give me the hypotenuse, which is the distance I need to travel, and that line that gives me that vector to travel. So I'm just going to go ahead and say vector 3, because remember, we're not using based on user input, we're using based on he needs to move on his own, it's AI. So we say vector 3 direction equals the destination, which is the player, which means I need to get access to the player. So I need another handle. So I need private player underscore player. All right, and void start, we need to say player equals, I need to find the player. Needs to know where the player is at all times. We find the player, component player. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for the character controller while I'm here. Controller equals get component, get the character controller. All right, and what I'm going to do here is I need the destination. What is the destination? The destination is the player. So I'm just going to go ahead and say player dot transform dot position minus the source, which is me. So I'm going to say my transform dot position. So I'm also going to go ahead and cache our transform. We're going to cache that. And transform equals this dot transform. All right, we're going to say my transform dot position. All right, and that's going to give us the equation of displacement, which will allow me to get a vector of travel. All right, a vector 3 or whatever that I need to travel along. What I can do now, I'm going to bring that stuff back up. Give me 1 second here. Okay, we're good. So let me get the artwork back. All right, so what I can do now is, here, 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and select some of these questions here. Okay. All right, now what I can do is I can go ahead and create velocity. So vector 3 velocity equals direction times speed. And then we need to add gravity for him. So if controller dot is grounded equals false, we can say equals true. If it's true, do nothing. He's going to walk, whatever. Else, we need to subtract gravity. So we're going to say y velocity minus equals gravity. All right, and then before moving, I gotta say velocity dot y equals I gotta say velocity dot y equals our y cache velocity, and then I gotta go ahead and actually move us. So I'm gonna say controller dot move, and we're gonna move it by the velocity times time dot delta time. Now here's a problem with this. The direction is this vector right here. This vector in the example is 7, okay? It's 7 in the example of those images I showed you. Now, the problem with that, and here, if I can pull them back up real quick, the problem with it being 7 is that I'm going to travel that length at 7 times whatever my speed is. So for instance, if we look here at the calculations again, just for this one, all right, looking at this, okay, the vector that I need to travel is going to be the displacement, all right, and it's going to be, say, for instance, it's 7. So the direction, this value here is 7. Well, in the next one, I'm saying velocity equals 7 multiplied by the speed, which is 2.5. Okay, so that means my speed is going to be around 15 or 16 units or higher than that, around 14 plus units per second. I don't want to move 14 meters per second. I want to move 2.5 meters per second. So what I need to do is I need to normalize it, which is going to set the length of the magnitude to 1. So it's going to be 1 times 2.5, which is my speed, giving me 2.5 meters per second, which is what I want. So all I got to do is I just got to come down here and say direction dot normalize, and that's going to normalize the vector. So it's always going to be a length of 1. And that way my speed is going to be 2.5. and not 14.5 or whatever that value is. So let's go ahead and test this out. Click on our enemy here. I'm going to go ahead and give him his character controller. I'm also going to remove that box collider. And let's go ahead and see if it works. Oh, didn't add the script. Here's our enemy AI. Add that on him. All right, and there we go. He's moving towards us. Now you'll notice though, he doesn't rotate towards us, but I can shoot him and it says hit enemy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this image real quickly. I'm going to go in and change his rotation. He needs to rotate towards me. And the way I'm going to do that is we're going to use a quaternion look rotation. And I haven't really made a video on quaternions. Basically, quaternions are how Unity handles rotation. So in the enemy AI, before we actually move, we want to rotate towards the player. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and say my transform.position equals quaternion.look rotation. All right, and this look rotation has a vector 3 forward. The forward direction that I need to face is the player, right? Well, that formula for looking forward is the exact same as the displacement formula. It's where you currently look to where you need to look. So it's the destination minus source. So I can actually just put us through here, direction. All right, and we should be good. I can go and do this. All right, and if we go and test it out now, oh, quaternion. Oh, right, hold on. I need a look rotation. 1 second. That's actually not right. Hold on. Quaternion.look rotation. Oh, whoops, sorry. I'm doing a position. That's why. Whoops. That is correct. This is wrong. My transform.rotation. I'm changing the rotation. If we go and test it out. And you'll see now he actually rotates towards me. See that? He rotates before he'll actually move. Right? And there actually might still be an issue here. When I jump, you'll notice he actually like bounces up like that. To stop that, I can actually just tell him to be 0 on his velocity.y. So after we, before moving, I can always just confirm that velocity.y equals 0, and that fixes that. And you'll see here, when I jump, oh, he still does it. 1 second. I'm going to do it before we move. Velocity.y equals 0. Or is it direction.y? I think it's direction.y. There we go. No. Wow. Okay, that's very annoying. Let's see. Here's our enemy AI updates. We have our this velocity minus equals gravity. Velocity.y equals y velocity. My chance of rotation. Huh. What's it not like? Let me see here. I'm not sure why it's not not sure what it doesn't like. Let me see. It should actually work. I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Why it's doing that. Direction.y equals 0. Velocity.y equals that. Direction.y equals 0. If it doesn't work, we're gonna move on. Oh, that should work. Okay, there we go. Okay, now it's working. I don't know what. Maybe I didn't save my script. All right, good stuff. So there we go. So now we can't jump in. You know, eventually we'll create a damage thing. But here we go. So this is pretty much, we are done. We have our prototype here, and now I can actually go ahead and start doing the 3D modeling. And you see I can shoot and stuff like that. We're also going to create a universal health system. And actually before the modeling, maybe that's what we'll do. I'm going to go and create a universal health system that's going to allow me to use one health system on both objects. And if you go to YouTube, I have a video on a universal health system. It's very good to use. It allows us to have one health system for everybody, and it allows you to also basically, you can have 100 monsters with different health values by doing this. That's pretty cool. You don't need different health scripts. But I'm pretty happy with this so far, so we'll go ahead and create the health script. We're just going to take a minute break here. If you have questions, you can ask. And I am just going to do a quick promotion of this video again. All right, and give me 1 second here. We'll be continuing in about 30 seconds. All right, give me 1 second here. I need the link to this. Here we go. All right, we'll go ahead and start in another 30 seconds here, just to give people time. And we'll go to the Digital Gaming Institute, put one more there. Alrighty, and real quickly. Let's see here. All right, guys, sorry, I'm just going on the Udemy forums. Just I didn't post a thread here. Guys, feel free to also promote this to get more people watching this. It'd be really cool if we get more than the maximum of 9, but if we don't, right, it doesn't matter. I don't mind talking to myself. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, give me 1 second. Alrighty, hold on. And I think I'll go ahead and get, I think a new Humble Bundle just came out, by the way, today. So I'll go ahead and give a viewer a free Humble Bundle key to all the downloads. So we'll go ahead and do that towards like the middle of this next part. I'll go ahead and explain what you can do to get that, and we'll give that out. So that will give you more incentive to join and stay. Let's see here. All right, let me just make sure that this link is actually takes us to this to participate, and it does. All right, let me see here. Oh, let me see. That's linked to get to the event, not to join. So what is the link to join? If someone can tell me that, that'd be great. Although I guess you can actually, okay, from the event you can join there, right? I'm assuming, Kelton, if you're there. Let me see here. All right, so it's like the administration, the teachers forum, that's linked to get to the event, not to join. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start here. If hopefully people can join. If they can't, someone can tell me. All right, so what I'm gonna do, guys, is we're gonna go ahead and create a universal health system for both of our objects here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a new C# script. I'm going to create a universal health system, just name it health. All right, and when I'm creating a universal health system, the names are going to be very generic because it's not proprietary to just the player or the enemy. If I have proprietary stuff for them, I can separate it later. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and click on the health script. And when I think about a house, I'm just going to create one. You know, thinking about if you played a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter before, how you would create that. I have a current health, my public current health. I have a minimum health. I have a maximum health. Max health. All right, so we have current min, and we can say min health. I have a minimum health and maximum health. All right, now at the beginning, okay, the current health equals the max health. So that we have 100. And the benefit of doing this universal, as I explained in my YouTube video for a universal health script, is here my player can have a maximum health of, say, 100 and the min health of 1, whereas my enemies can have a maximum health of 500. And you can change these values to whatever you want for however many enemies you have, but it's going to be 100 as well, and the min is going to be 1. And when I run these will populate to be 100 current, 100 for me. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a function that's going to allow me to actually damage them. I won't need this update function, I don't think. Maybe I will keep it there just in case. I'm going to go ahead and create a custom function here. I'm going to name it public void damage. It's public because I need to access it from somewhere else. When this damage function gets called, I need to know how much damage I want to deal. So I'm going to say int damage amounts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say current health minus equals the damage amount that you pass through the function as an argument. All right, now what we're going to do, what we're going to do here is after you deal health, let's check if they're alive. So if current health is less than minimum health, then what does that mean? That means you're dead. So we're just going to say destroy this.gameObject. So whatever game object has the health of less than 1, you die. Now to make this work, we need to deal damage every time we shoot them. All right, so I'm going to deal 50 damage every time. Distance is 50. We can say private float damage amount equals 50.50 or 50. Yeah. Private damage amount is 50. Right, so instead of debugging.log the name of the object, let's just deal damage. In order to do that, I need to grab the health component of the object I hit, which is stored in hit info. So I'm going to go ahead and say, health. I need the health component of the object we hit. So I'm going to say health, and I can name this enemy health. So that's who it's always going to be. It's going to be their health, the enemy's health. Enemy health equals the hit info dot collider, and then get a component, and I want their health script. So now that I have their health script, I can just say enemy health dot damage, and I'm going to damage that specific object I hit, and I'm going to pass through my damage amount. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out and see if it works. I'm going to go ahead and shoot him once, twice. Oh, missed him. There we go. So now we have a working rifle script and health script. So I shoot him once, twice, he's dead. All right. Now that we have this, I think it's okay that we can get into we can actually get into the 3D modeling part where I have a completed prototype here, and now I can start doing the artwork. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do the enemy first. The enemy has a bunch of animations to do. We're going to use this troll I found off the asset store. So I'm going to go to asset store. Window asset store. And then give me 1 second here. Let's go ahead and go to troll. All right, here we go. So we're going to use this Earthborn troll right here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and download that, put that into the project. Let's log in here. All right, so we've got the Earthborn Troll, and he has a bunch of animations. It says he's set up for Mixamo, so we'll go ahead and give that a go. If he is. If he's not set up for Mixamo, then we're going to use the legacy animation system, which can still be seen as useful, maybe. So we'll see. Let's see. It should be good to go. Let's see here. Okay, Earthborn Troll. Here we go. So inside this, I'm going to go ahead and put him inside my models folder. All right, and what I have here is I have materials. Hopefully it already comes material, so I don't have to touch any of that. Textures, great. Okay, here's the prefab of the troll. All right, looks pretty cool. And you'll see here we have a bunch of animations here. So we have an attack animation. Looks like we got attack 2, pretty cool. We got our die animation, it's pretty neat. We have a hit animation, so when we just hit him once, we'll do that. Then we got a couple idols. We're not going to use the idols though, it's going to constantly be moving. We're not doing any state machines, or maybe we can at the end if we have time. We have a jump form, we're not going to use that. And we have a run. And we have a walk. Which one do we want to use? Now we use the run. It's coming at us. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I need to now replace this cube with our troll. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on the enemy object here, and I'm going to make it a child. So I'm going to put this troll inside of the enemy, and then I'm going to click on the enemy here. Okay, and the enemy is going to remove the mesh renderer and the mesh filter. So it's an invisible object, and all you see is the actual troll now. And what we need to do is we need to bring him a little closer. 1 second. Yeah, we actually need to make him bigger. You'll see his character controller is just way out of line here. What I'm going to do here, click on the model, set the scale factor to about 0.1. Okay, so now he's like way too big. So we're going to click on the model again, set it to 0.05. Still too big. 0.02. Okay, that might be a little bit. Let's check that out. We're going to go ahead and take him, move him over here, closer to the player. Let's see. All right, here, let's go ahead and fix our character controller to be wrapped around him, actually. What we're going to do here is we're going to set the radius of the character controller. That can stay about 0.5. The height, though, needs to be like 0.5. 8.9, 0.1 maybe. Let's see. Just need to move it up. Okay, that's way too big. All right, and let's go ahead and adjust that. Okay, that should be pretty okay for it. And the radius we can make like 3. All right, so looking at him now, I don't think he has any animations he can play. He looks way too small, and he does follow us still. When I implement our character model, he should look a lot more proportionate, but I'm also going to go ahead and increase his size just a bit. So I'm going to do that directly from the scale. It's going to make him 1.5, 5. If we keep him there, how does that look? It's still really tiny. Jeez. Okay, that's a lot better. All right, I'm happy with that for now. So I can go ahead and shoot him, and he still dies. All right, so we got our enemy set up here. What I'm going to go ahead and do now, real quickly, is I'm going to get it prepared for web player, because it's going to be a web build. We have our enemy there, and he has some animations he needs to play. So for instance, he needs to be able to walk, right? So it looks like from the looks of it, these animations are legacy, which isn't a problem. I'm going to go ahead and probably just use the legacy, since it looks like that's what they are. The reason why I know that is because it says wrap mode. So it means that they're not necessary by default for Mechanim. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is we're going to go ahead and use the legacy for it. I'm going to go and create a new C# script, and we're going to go ahead here and create an enemy animation script. So we have enemy animation. Open that up, and let's attach it to our, we're going to attach it to our enemy object. All right, and notice that the enemy animation script is going to control the animation of the troll object, which is a child. And the troll object has the animation component with all the animations here. We don't want to play automatically. And what we need to do now is we need to play this run animation. Okay, I need access to this animation component though. That's a child. So I'm going to go and create a handle to that first. Oops. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say here, private animation, and then underscore anim. All right, and here we can go ahead and say anim equals get component in children. And I'm just going to get the animation component. All right, so now I have access to those animations. What I want to do here is I need to set the wrap mode for the anim. So I'm going to grab the run animation, and I'm going to set the wrap mode equal to, let's say, wrap mode.loop, because he's always going to be running. Unless he gets close enough to switch, which will handle that, like close enough to attack, then he needs to switch. But I'm setting the wrap mode to loop, and then I'm going to go ahead and say anim.play. Anim.play and then run. All right, so we're going to play the run animation. Now the problem with this is, think about it. If I have 20 enemies on the screen and I just did this, they're all going to have the same run animation. They're all going to start at the exact same time. To give it more of a real life effect, I can randomize their footsteps by actually randomizing what part of their animation frame they start in. Right now, by default, everyone starts at 0. But instead, what I can do is I can randomize if they start at 0 or if they start at 1. All right, 0 is the start of the animation, 1 is the end, 0.5 is the middle. Okay, so what I can do is I can say anim dot, I can grab the run animation, and then I can say the, what is it? Oh my God, I just forgot it. The normalized time. Right? Normalized time is what controls it. So I can say normalized time equals a random value, and that's going to give me a float value between 0 and 1. Right? That's going to give them more of a more randomization between however many there are. And you'll see here, he is running at us. Not very fast, but you can go ahead and shoot him. Oh, and actually, no, now we have a problem here. It looks like we shot something that didn't have the script. It's a problem. 1 second here. Why did we get that error? Here, let's change his height. Okay. Let me see how he looks here. If I shoot him. Okay, there we go. I don't know what that error was. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'm getting this error because I'm shooting the ground. It says no reference exception, object reference less than to an instance. The only time you ever get that is if you're trying to, that means you either have a component that's not assigned properly, or you're calling a function on something that that object just doesn't have. And it's happening from our rifle script. And you'll see here that if my raycast hits anything, I don't care what it hits, I'm calling this damage function. But what if the object, for instance, the ground, doesn't have a damage function or a health script attached? It's going to error out and cause that because if you're calling a function that doesn't exist on that object. What I need to do is I need to go ahead and say enemy health here. And then before damaging, I just need to check and see if that enemy health even exists. So I'm just going to go ahead and say if enemy health not equal null. When I do this get component stuff, if it doesn't exist, it's okay. It just returns null, nothing happens. But if I call that function and it doesn't exist, then we have a problem. So if enemy health not equal null, meaning that it exists, I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to go ahead and then call it. Only if it exists do I want to call that function. That's going to fix that. All right, so we got our, he's walking towards us. I can shoot the ground now, nothing happens. All right, so pretty good there. Let me see here. What can we do next? Okay, that's pretty much it, I think, for the enemy animation. Well, eventually we'll do attack once I get the player done. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the player now. And actually, no, I'm sorry. We can do our death animation here. Instead of deleting the troll when he dies, let's go ahead and actually just play his death animation. So I'm going to go into his health script here. And instead of, whoops, hold on. Sorry. Instead of destroying the object, let's go ahead and play his animation. Now, this could be seen as, the death animation strictly for him and not the player. When you remember though, this function here is only called on the object that dies. So even though it's on the player, it doesn't matter if the player doesn't die. And if the player does die, it's not going to do anything. It only matters when you call a function that doesn't have. But what I can do to make it more organized is I can actually say here, all right, so if current health is less than min health, you're dead. I can check right now if you're a player or an enemy. I can say here, if tag equals player, then this is player specific. Else, you're an enemy, right? Else, it's an enemy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually make this universal because when you die, regardless, all your animations have to they have to stop or you have to play a new one. And actually, though, for the enemy, though, we can actually just do it there. So that's what we do. It's an enemy. So I need to get access to the animation component of the enemy. I'm going to say animation underscore anim equals get component in children. And the animation again. Now that I have the animation, I'm going to go ahead and say anim. What animation do I want to, or I'm going to say anim dot crossfade, and that's going to smoothly transition from the current animation being played to the death animation. So I'm going to go ahead and say, what is it, die? Make sure that's right. Is our Earthborn Troll? Yeah, so it is the die animation. And then while we're at it, I can also go ahead and do or yeah, let's go ahead and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and hit him. And there you go, he dropped dead. But now check this out. He's playing it over and over again. On top of that, he's still following me. Let's go ahead and make it not wrap like that. We're just going to set the wrap mode real quickly. Before doing this, before crossfading into die, and actually I might be able to just do this directly right here. Okay, no, I can't. I have to do it through script. So what I'm going to say here is I'm just going to go ahead and say anim. I'm going to grab the die. I'm going to set the wrap mode. Wrap mode equals wrap mode dot play once. Let's see if that works. It actually might need to be clamped forever, which means it has to be stuck on the last frame. So if I kill him, yeah, see that? He played it, but then now he's back up standing tall because the animation's over. So what I need to do is I need to pause it on the very last frame of the animation. The way I do that is through what's called clamp forever. All right, and now if I go and kill him, he's actually going to stay dead. But now, however, though, check it out. He's actually, okay, he didn't stay dead there. Hold on. Why not? Anim die dot wrap mode equals wrap mode dot clamp forever. Let me crossfade it to die. I just play. Really? You're gonna be that glitchy? 1 second. Current health is less than that. Yeah. Hold on. Gotta figure out what is causing that. Oh, okay. So here, and real quickly, we have a question from Mori11. What exactly is the wrap mode class? The wrap mode is how the animation behaves. So for instance, where it says wrap mode here equals wrap mode, how do you want the animation to behave? Do you want it to loop? Do you want it to play just once? Do you want to pause it on the last frame? That's what these values are. They allow you to control the looping or non-looping of the animation. And let me see here. Why isn't this working? This should be working. Enemy, it's an animation anim, get component in children animation, anim die dot wrap mode. We're clamping forever, and then we say anim dot play die. It's not working. I don't know why. It should be working. Message. If we click on the enemy here, you know what? Let's go ahead and continue destroying him though. Not only does he need to play his die animation and stay on that die animation, but he also needs to stop following us. So we also need to say destroy. We need to get component is enemy AI script. We also need to destroy his character controller. Right, and then we also need to destroy the enemy animation script. Oh, and that could, maybe that will fix it, maybe, I don't know. Let's see, destroy enemy animation, destroy get component, just that way the enemy, that way he doesn't walk anymore. And actually that might be causing the problem maybe. We'll see though. I don't think so. Enemy animation, and do that. And test that out. So he stays still, but he still decides he wants to stand up like that. I have no idea why clamp forever isn't working, unless I'm not using the proper one. Clamp forever. Clamp, and then we have clamp forever. Yeah. Anim DIE, capital die, right? I wish I could just set it here. I don't know why I can't. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can actually. Let me see. Let's go into animations here. Here's the die. Add loop frame. No. Wrap mode. Clamp forever. Let's apply that. All right, let's go and see here. Kill him. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Now he's dead. I don't know what was wrong with the clamp forever code. Should have been working, but you can see here he's dead. All right. Now, one thing you'll notice, he probably still has a collider on him, I'm sure. Oh, no, I deleted the character controller. But if you'll notice here, his health, though, what is his health? Oh, okay, never mind, it's at 0, so that's fine. But just as a safety net, you can't go below 0. So if current health is less than minimum health, for everyone, the current health is going to be equal to 0. And that's going to be important when we actually display our health. All right, and then we can do player-specific and enemy-specific stuff. All right, so there we go. So pretty much we're done with the enemy death. What we can do now is we can go ahead and do, before bringing in the player model, I think we can go ahead and actually, we have a hit animation. How about every time you just hit him, he'll play the hit. So let's go ahead and do that. So, and that's going to be right here, right after you damage him. All right, so what we want to do here is we just need to call his animation. So we need to grab his animation. So basically we're going to go ahead and say here, animation, and we're going to say enemy anim equals the hit info dot collider dot get component in children. We want his animation component. All right, and then what we're going to do here is we're just going to go and play. So I'm going to go and say, we're going to say enemy anim dot crossfade to smooth the transition from the current animation, and we're going to go and say hit. I think that's what it's named, yeah. And that should work. Let's go ahead and test that out. All right, now we're going to have an issue though, I think, where he's going to actually stop moving once I do this. All right, so he gets hit, and now he's constantly getting hit. See that? So we need to actually change the wrap mode on hit to only play once. And again, I don't know if it's going to work through code for some reason, so I'm just going to do it directly through here. I'm going to grab the hit animation, see where it says loop, just make it once, add loop frame, apply. And if we go and test it now, he's not going to constantly loop through it, but he's also not going to do any animation. So he does take the hit, like we got feedback that we hit him, but now he's just falling. So what we need to do is after hitting him, we need to trigger the walking animation to go again. So the way we can do that is after getting hit, we can actually, from our function, we can say start walking again. So what we can do here is an enemy animation here. Remember, so we're only doing the start function here. So technically, after you hit him, we can just call this function again. And here we can say here void You can say void start walking. Public void start walking, and we'll go ahead and say here, we're just going to go ahead and say anim.crossfade to smoothly transition from the hit back into run. That's all we're going to do. And this function gets called when you get hit. So I need access to the enemy animation component now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Whoops, hold on. Yeah, we can do that in the health script. All right, so here in the health script, if you get hit, right, after you get hit, go ahead and start walking again. If current health is damaged, then it will crossfade into die, or will just die. Right, and we can actually crossfade into that probably. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go ahead and say we need to just call that function on you. So we can actually just say this. We can say animation. We can actually make this universal. We can say anim equals get component in children. Component in children animation. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to call the anim.startWalking function. The component in children animation. Oh, whoops, I need the enemy animation. Sorry about that. I need animation. Oh, right, okay, never mind. I need enemy animation. Enemy animation, and let's say enemy anim equals get component in children, not get component in children. Get component enemy animation. All right, and now I don't want to just call that function because again, this is also on the player, and even if we call a function that's not on the player, we need to check if it exists first. So enemy animation, enemy anim equals get component enemy animation, and what I can do here is I can go ahead and say enemy anim dot start walking. Right, but before I can do that, I need to check if it exists. So if enemy anim not equal null, meaning it exists, then we can go ahead and do this. Let's go and give this a go, see what happens. Hopefully I didn't just screw everything up. Let's see. So he gets hit, and he stopped moving. Oh, whoops, I accidentally killed him, which that leads to another problem. Give me 1 second here. We're not gonna just gonna play. Change that back to play. I hit him once, and he's not walking, which isn't good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and debug it. Let's find out if it's even being called. So here we have this debug.log. And play. All right, it's called. Okay, so that function did get called. It just didn't want to do anything. I'm not sure why. Let's see, start walking did get called. Let me say anim.play run. Let me see here. There's our run animation. Let's see, the hit is play once. The die is play once, clamp forever, and the run is looping. So what is wrong with it? Let me see, anim.play. Everything here should be working. I'm not sure why it's not. It's not playing the dead function either. All right, that's a problem. Quick point, start walking. When that function gets called, you're going to go and walk. Anim.play run. Where's the whole script? Here we have current health minus equal enemy anim equals get component enemy animation. If enemy not equal null, then enemy anim dot start walking again. That's after you get hit. All right, here's a different way we can do this. We can use a coroutine, I think, to start the walking again. We're going to go ahead and we don't need this. Inside the rifle script, we can actually use a coroutine then. Right here, I'm saying crossfade into hit. So after you hit, I need to go back to starting to walk again. So what I can do here is I can actually I can pass through that person's animation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have here a item enumerator. It's going to be a coroutine, and that start walking. Let's see here. We're going to say start walking, and we're going to ask for an animation. Animation anim. So I should be able to say after that I can say start walking. If that's for an animation, or I want to pass through his animation. So I'm going to say I should be able to say enemy anim. Yeah. All right, here we go. Start walking, enemy anim. All right, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say yield return null, which is going to wait for the end of the frame, and then I'm going to say anim play. I'm going to play the run. See if that works. Wow. Okay, this model just wants to be a pain in the ass. Well, you know what? To reduce lack of me attempting to constantly figure out what's wrong with this, he's not going to get hit for now. We are going to forget that. We'll come back to it if I have time. All right. Regardless, though, he can die. Hopefully, okay. Let's see. Die. All right, he can still die. So we're going to leave it at that. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go and get the main player model in here. And I'm going to start doing more stuff like polishing. We're going to get health, win conditions, spawn manager. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff here. What I'm going to do now is I have from one of the games that Unity released, Angry Bots or something like that. I have the character that they used. So that's what I'm going to use for this. All right, so if you go in here, let's get that. I'm just going to bring this in into our models folder. It's our player. All right, so here's our player here. And what I'm going to do is the same thing I did with the troll. Just going to attach an enemy there, or I'm sorry, the player. And what I'm going to do is right now he's a child. I'm just going to say this is the player model. All right, and you'll see it automatically set him up for Mechanim, which is the animator, where I think Unity hasn't updated this, so I'm pretty sure it needs legacy. So I'm going to go ahead and change that, and you'll see how I do that in a minute. For this main camera here, what I'm going to do, oh, I'm sorry, no, I need to replace them. So I'm going to remove the mesh filter and the mesh render. All right, now we're pretty good. What I need to do now, and he actually might be okay. No, it still needs to be fixed. Let me see here. Looking for the Unity docs on him. They give you like some stuff you should do. I don't think we need to change it. I think his size might be okay, but I need to fix his character controller. So here, let's do this. Let's make it a 1.8. Let's change the height here to about 1. All right, let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this proportionate size. I'm going to need to raise the our thing up a bit, so let's go and do that. Our look Y here needs to get raised, so we're just going to just raise it up. And there we go, that's better. So I'm going to go ahead and kill him again. There we go. All right, so the texture on our player is broken, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Click on the player model here, and I should just be able to just add this to it. I have to go on this one here. Yeah, it's just missing the main player diffuse, which I believe is this one here. All right, and there we go. And if I want to, I can actually change that little green thing on my back, and I am. I'm going to make it like blue. There we go. Okay, so now we got our player in here, and what I need to do now is I need to animate the player. With this, though, I get an animation clip. It's one animation clip, and I need to cut it. So let's go ahead and look at the animation clip here. If I drop down player, I have take 1. All right, and I can run left and right, forward and backwards, but I only get 1. All right, so I need to animate it. I need to cut his clips. And right now, he is set up for Mechanism, it seems. Let me see if I can even use that. Can I use that Mechanism? Let me see if I go to the animator. I don't think I can. Yeah, so I'm going to go and change it back to legacy real quickly. I'm going to remove that component. I'm going to add an animation component. And you'll see it hasn't recognized it yet, but it will once I change that. I'm going to click here, click on the animation. I'm going to go debug mode. And the animation type, which I can't change for some reason. Oh, here we go. Rig needs to be legacy. There we go. That fixed it. Now you'll see here he has his animation. He has the animation automatically of take 1, which I just deleted. It's got to debug normal. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to actually break his animations up. So we have take 1. All right, it's in one clip. I need to actually cut the animations. Unity gives you the values that you need to change to do this. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's cut these animations. All right, I need to, where's my mouse? All right, so I'm going to click on the player model here, go to the animations, and I'm going to create new animations. So I'm going to say here we have an idle animation. So I have idle, and it's from 0 to 74. All right, that's idle. And then I'm just going to hit apply. Then what I have is run forward. So I'm going to create another one. And run forward. All right, that's going to be 76 through 94. Create another one here. This is for run backwards. Run backward. All right, and that's going to be 96 through 114. I'm going to go and create another animation here. Run right. And this is going to be 116 through 134. All right, and then I got run left. Run left. And that will be 136 through 154. All right, so now you'll see here in the player, I have these individual animations. All right, and if I click on my player model, it didn't update for some reason, but that's okay. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to add all these. Give me 1 second. Take the idle, put it in there, the run backwards, the run forwards, the run left, run right. All right, so I have all these animations now that we can use. So now I need to go ahead and script it. So first thing I'm going to do here is in my scripts, I need to create a player animation folder or player animation script. I'm going to open this up. And what I'm going to do now is I need a handle to my animation component. So private animation _anim. And I'm going to go ahead and say anim equals get component in children. And I want the animation. All right, we're good. All right, so now what I'm going to do here is the player animation is different from the enemy because it's not automated. It's based on my user input. I'm going to go ahead and say here, I'm basically going to go ahead and say, what's it going to say? Yeah, I need to get it's based on my user input. So I'm going to get my float h equals input.getAccess. I'm going to do getAccess raw here. I want it to be a solid integer value. I'm going to get the horizontal. And then I'm going to do float v equals getAccess raw. And if you're not familiar with getAccess raw, it just means that instead of going from 0 to 1 in a float, like 0.1, 0.2, all the way to 1, it just goes 0, 1, or -1. There's no in-betweens. This one's going to be vertical. Alrighty, so we got vertical here. All right, and what I'm going to do now is basically the horizontal and vertical movements. So, for instance, if for going forward, if v is greater than 0, then I'm going forward. So I'm going to say anim.blend. I'm going to blend my run forward animation. Now, when I'm running forward, I cannot run backwards at the same time. So I got to say, I got to also blend. I got to tell it that I can't blend backwards. So I say run backward, and then I have a the weight, like a parenthesis or a target or parameter here for the weight. The weight is how active the animation is. It's going to be 0. When I'm running forward, the run backward animation can't blend at all. Same for idle. When you're running forward, you can't be idle. So I'm going to go ahead and say idle, and the weight is 0. All right. And then here we can do if, and then we have else if. All right, so what if we run backwards? So else if v is less than 0, that means you're running backwards. Take these. We're going to say run forward can't be is going to be 0. Idle is going to be 0, but run backwards will blend. Swap these. All right. So idle and run forward are 0, but run backwards is okay. Let me see here. All right, now we're going to go and do the horizontal ones. All right, so here we have here if h is greater than 0, and else if h is less than 0, as for horizontal. What we're going to do now is if it's that, we're going to take these. So if it's greater than 0, that's running right. So we're going to say you're going to run right, but you cannot idle and you can't run left at the same time. All right, and then we're going to do the exact same thing. So for this one, we're running left, it's just reversed. All right, you can run left, but you can't idle and you can't run right. And then now, what about for actual idling? Well, that's really simple. If h is 0 and v is 0, then it's idle. So you're going to say anim.crossfade to smoothly transition from all the animations into idle. All right, we're going to go ahead and save that, attach it to our player here. Oh, well, I don't know why I just did that. I don't need to attach anything. Oh, yeah, okay. Player animation. All right, let's go and test it out. So I'm playing my idle, and I can run left, run forward, run to the right, and I can run backwards into the right. So there we go. So I can run forwards. And there we go, pretty simple. All right, and I can still kill him. But now we're pretty good. So now we pretty much got this core functionality of our game down. Now we can start adding things like a spawn manager, and I can start adding things, I can add spawn manager, and I can start adding things like win conditions and stuff like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do next, and we're going to dive into layer masks and all that cool stuff. So that'll be pretty fun. What I'm going to do here is take another like 2-minute break. We have 4 people in here, which is pretty cool. I wish we had more, not gonna lie. But feel free to just chill. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Go ahead and promote this channel if you will. Send out the event group so they can join, or some join link, something like that. It would mean a lot. But I will be back in 2 minutes. And if you guys want, if we can get it, I would like to get it to 10. If we can get 10 people in here, I would be glad to do the Humble Bundle giveaway. And I believe, let me see here. I think they have a pretty good, they just updated it. Let's check it out. Bundle. Okay, oh no, it's still the Square Enix one. All right, that's fine. Oh, it's the bundle 2. Okay, so they added some more games. So you get like Kane and Lynch and stuff like that. Oh, and you get Deuce X. Okay, so long story short, you'll get all these games if we can get 10 people in here. So one lucky person will, but it's pretty cool. Just gonna check out the Unity forums real quickly. Let me see here. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and do a spawn manager in about another 2 minutes here, and we'll get into a spawn manager, and then we are going to do win conditions. I got a helicopter we're gonna bring in here, and then we got some effects we're gonna do, and then we're gonna do a whole main menu using the old system, which might not actually be relevant. So while I'm creating this, if someone has a link to a good UI, I'll be happy to do that. Maybe I'll even use the UI from my book. It's not updated for the new system, but maybe I'll create a 4.6 UI menu. We'll go ahead and use that. But other than that, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and we'll have an ammunition system. We'll have some pickup items, and then I'll try and do some environment artists. And at the end, if I can get an environment in the game, I'll go ahead and show off the nav mesh of Unity, because it's actually really good. It calculates AI performance to where you don't need to use like the A-star pathfinding. You can just use the nav mesh pro pathfinding, which is now free for Unity, and it works really well. So we can go ahead and use that, and I'll cover that. It goes into like how to bake a scene and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. And then there's some things we got to do with the GUI manager. Got a whole bunch of labels that we can put on the screen. Yeah, so yeah, we got a fun night ahead of us. All right, let's see here. Gonna go ahead and start here in just a minute. Oh yeah, also guys, if you're here from somewhere, I don't know how you found it, go ahead and go to facebook.com/Digital Gaming Institute and join the Facebook page. You'll find out information about what I'm currently working on. Just to actually talk about it real quick, I'm creating with a partner, Rick Love. We are creating, basically, if you've ever seen like Code School or Code Academy, we're taking that concept and we're putting it directly inside of the Unity editor. And basically, you're going to be able to learn interactively straight in the editor. And I'm posting updates on Facebook, and you can find out more about the live sessions, when they are, and stuff like that. So just go on Facebook. There's a lot of good stuff there. And then also, that's why I do a lot of just promoting for DJI, and you can help out by liking it. But you'll see updates on the new product we're working on. We're hoping to have a alpha next month, like this coming month in March. Which would be really cool. But yeah, go ahead and join that if you haven't. Facebook.com/Digital Gaming Institute, or you can go to the website, digitalgaminginstitute.com, and they'll find the Twitter link and Facebook link there. And you can drop your email for release date information. But okay, so let's go ahead and get back to the live session here. what we want to do now is create a spawn manager. Now, I don't want to just create a boring spawn manager that has a destination point or anything like that. I want to create an advanced spawn manager that uses raycasting from the sky, and you can't see them spawn. For instance, if you ever played Call of Duty, like the zombies or stuff like that, or any game really, you never see an enemy necessarily spawn. If you do, that's not really good. They always come from the sides, from behind, or from in front of you somehow, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a system where I can actually raycast. I can raycast from the main camera on the sides, the edges of my camera on the left and right side, and if I can check to see if it hits the ground. If it hits the ground, I'm going to spawn an enemy there. All right, if it's in view, then it will never spawn. So it can only spawn on the left edge of my screen or the right edge of my screen. I will never see an enemy spawn, and I can give them a distance from how far they spawn. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go in here, create a spawn manager. Spawn manager. All right, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to probably turn this into a singleton manager so that I can have easy access to it for when I display points and stuff like that, and a zombie count, or not a zombie count, a troll count for how many trolls we could have and stuff like that. Might be nice to edit it when we do a difficulty selection. So here's our spawn manager. I'm going to go ahead and create an empty object here. I'm going to name it spawn manager. I'm going to turn it into a singleton here. Spawn manager, put it there. I'm also going to turn my enemy here into a prefab because we're going to reuse him to spawn. And then what I want to do here is, let me see. Oh, and actually, I wonder before we spawn, should I do the enemy damaging? But, I think I'll do the spawn manager first, and then I'll do the enemy damaging. Just occurred to me. So what we're going to do here, let me see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to go and do that first. Okay, so spawn manager, here we go. So I'm going to go and turn it into a singleton first, just so I can have easy access to it. So in my spawn manager, I'm going to open that up. And what I want to do, I'm going to write it out before I forget, is spawn on edge of screen. I'm going to use a layer mask, all right? So check for ground layer, all right? So what I'm going to do first is just turn it into a singleton. So I'm just going to go ahead and say private static spawn manager instance. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to create a property of public static spawn manager and then instance. All right, and this is a property. When I call this class, I'm going to get information and return the instance. Now, before returning the instance, I need to make sure it's not null. So I'm going to check. So if instance is null, then I need to create the instance. So what I'm going to do here is I need to create the instance. So I'm going to go ahead and say, if it's null, meaning it doesn't exist, then I need to create it. So game object go equals a new game object. I'm going to name it spawn manager. Spawn manager. And I'm going to add a component to the spawn manager. I'm going to add this component to it. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and use void awake, which is on loading of this object. And I'm going to go ahead and say the instance is this object. Alrighty, now we're good to continue. If you also, guys, anytime you have a question, just ask away. All right, so what we're going to do now is what I need to do here is create a spawn manager. So what I'm going to do here in void star, I'm going to do it through a coroutine because it's more efficient to do that. I don't want to use time.time and create a quit on system that way. I'm going to go in here, void start, and I'm going to go ahead and say, here, we're going to create a coroutine. So I'm going to say IE numerator, IE numerator, and then spawn. We'll say spawn. Everything's going to be done inside there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start coroutine at start. I'm going to call spawn. All right, so in spawn, I'm going to have a while true loop. Now, the reason why I'm going to have a while true loop is because I want it to run continuously forever. All right, and I'm going to say while true, I want to spawn an object. So the way I'm going to do that is I need to spawn them at the edge of the screen. So that's the position on my screen. So I'm going to say vector3 edge, new vector3. And what I'm going to do is the way it works, guys, is you have the left side of your screen is the left side of your screen is -1. The right side of your screen is +1. Okay, and then the middle of your screen is 0. All right. And actually, I don't know if that's right. Hold on, is it? I think it's 0. I can't remember. Hold on. Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's 0. Okay, yeah, it goes from left to right. So the left side of your screen is 0. The middle of your screen is 0.5, and the far right of your screen is 1. Now, if I want to spawn them on the edge, what I need to do is I need to say the edge is the right edge is 1.25. So it's just off the edge of the screen on the right. So I'm going to say vector3 edge equals that. And I'm going to say I want to spawn them about mid-height on the screen, and I want to spawn them maybe 12 units away from me. So I'm going to say 12F. 12 units away from me. That's the edge on the right, okay? Now I'm going to randomize the value though, because sometimes I might want them to spawn on the left side. So what can I do? I can just say here, I can simply go, let's go ahead and say edge.x equals, we can say x.x equals, no, I'm sorry, I can say, yeah. I can do a quick if statement right here. I can just say here, if random.value, so whatever that number is, if it's greater than 0.5f, right, so if it's greater than 50%, then we can say, if it's greater than 50%, then we're going to say it spawns on the left side. So we're going to say edge.x equals -0.25. And that's going to spawn on the left side because it's past 0. All right, so now we have it randomly spawning on the left or right edge. Now what I need to do is I need to actually cast array from my viewport to world point. When I use viewport to world point, it's what I actually see in the camera. Do you have the link to the top of the Hangout, and then I can join? Okay, a question from administration. Can you? So you're able to type there? Like it's a broadcast on air. One of the questions was from administration. Do you have the link to the top of the Hangout so I can join? I don't know if that means you can actually voice in here, but you should be able to ask questions like you were just doing. So I hope you're able to hear me, right? You can hear me and you're watching this live and you can ask questions. That's what the on air is. There's not really a chat feature like there is on Twitch. Until I get enough views, I'm not really going to move over to Twitch. But if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to stop and answer them. So guys, what I'm going to do here is, give me one second. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cast array from my main camera in the viewport and convert that to world coordinates. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say here, the place to spawn them. So we're going to instantiate them. All right, we're going to instantiate what object? It's going to be the enemy, right? So I need a game object for the enemy. So I'm going to say public game object, and then we're going to say enemy fab. Okay, yes, but I hate typing. All right, well, that's not gonna lie, that sucks. But feel free to, if you have a lot of questions, you can live chat me on Twitter or something, or Facebook on DJI's messaging. Okay, guys, so what we're going to be doing here is I'm instantiating the enemy fab, and now the position to spawn them is the position in world coordinates. Well, instead of just typing out camera.main and doing all that long crap, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to store it in a variable. I'm going to say vector3 place to spawn, or we'll say spawn point. Vector3 spawn point equals, we need to cast array from the main camera, the viewport, and I want to point it to world point. So viewport to world point, which is in world space, and it's asking for a vector3 position. That vector3 position is the edge value. Right, that's where it says it's either the right or left side of the screen. So I'm just going to say world point, and I'm going to say edge. So I'm going to spawn you at the edge of the screen. Now what I can do here is I can say spawn point, and then the rotation is, we're not going to touch the rotation. I don't care about it. So I'm just going to say quaternion.identity, default rotation, don't touch it. So this should work. And before actually, after spawning, I need to give it a time. How often do I want to spawn? I would like to spawn them maybe every, you would return new, wait for seconds, let's say every 2 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and test it out, see if it works. Oh, and I didn't check for the ground layer actually real quickly. So I'll probably want to do that. Before we spawn them, we'll check for the ground layer. But I need to assign the enemy prefab. But you'll see here actually that it will work. Now the reason why I want to check for the ground layer is because if I don't, if I have buildings or something like that, they will actually spawn in the buildings. But you'll notice you'll never see as enemy spawned. See that? They're spawning randomly on the edges of the screen. And they're going to kill me. All right, so I'm going to go and I can go and mass murder them all. Oh yeah. All right. So that's pretty cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually create a layer for them. So for instance, here's my ground. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a layer for it. So I'm going to go to add layer and I'm going to say ground. I only want them to spawn on the ground layer. All right. So I'm going to click on my ground here. The layer is ground. Now in script, I need to check for that layer. So I'm going to open up the spawn manager here. Now you can only instantiate them if it hits the layer. All right. So what I need to do is, oh, actually, you know what? I'm trying to think, actually. I don't know if we can do a layer. Ooh, how would I do layer mask with instantiation? Because I'm not actually casting array to the ground. Let me see here. Oh yeah, you know what? I am actually. Right now, they're actually just spawning in midair. I can turn it into a raycast. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and say here we have vector3 edge. All this, we can actually keep all this. Let's go ahead and do this. Tidy it up. We have the edge of screen. This term determines if it's random value on the left or right. We have our spawn point, which equals this right here. We're actually going to change this. We're going to turn that into a raycast so I can actually check for a layer. And the way I'm going to do that is we're going to go ahead and say here, while true, I'm going to create an array. Origin equals this. So now I'm casting array from that position, right? And we're checking to see if it's going to hit something. It can only hit the ground layer. I can only hit the ground layer. So I'm casting from the edge. And what I'm going to do here is I need to put this above it. That's what it is. All right, so we have our array origin, and I'm going to have a raycast hit. All right, so the spawn point is going to be the point of impact. So hitInfo.point is your new spawn point. Now, how do I check for the layer, though? What I'm going to do here is when I cast the array, which is through if physics.raycast, you only spawn if you hit something. Right, so if you hit something, then you spawn. So if physics.raycast, what I'm going to do here, if you Skype, I can Skype you. I cannot talk on here about this. If you have an inquiry about something, you can send me a message on the Unity forums. My username is Sub-Zero Gaming. All right, so here we go. So we got if physics.raycast. What I'm going to do here is ray origin, and then I'm going to say out hit info. I don't really care about a distance. I'm just going to output the hit info. I'm just looking for it to hit the ground. Now, there's another parameter in here called layer mask, and I have a layer mask video on YouTube, and I'm going to go ahead and bit shift. I'm going to place a 1 on layer mask 8. So I'm going to 1 bit shift 8. All right, and what it's going to do now is it's only going to spawn an enemy if it hits ground. All right, so I can go ahead and test this out. Oh, I got an error here. What's it say? Right, origin was camera.viewport point to world. Viewport to world point the edge. What's it asking for? It's asking for a vector3. The edge. Oh, right, my bad, guys. Hold on. I'm casting from the screen now. God damn it. I gotta say viewport point to ray. We're casting a ray. That should fix it. All right, we're good. Or holy crap, guys. 1 second. Oh my goodness. I just crashed Unity. This needs to also be placed here. All right, guys, hold on. You're about to witness a murder. Unity just crashed. I have no idea when the last time I saved the scene was. Wow. All right, let's see what happens. Holy shit. If you're just now tuning in, you are in for a treat. Unity just crashed, and I think I may have just lost everything. Oh, yeah. Wow. Well, let me see here. We got all the scripts. Oh my god. Kill me. All right, guys. Well, that is a lesson for you that you should save your scenes. I'm going to take a break here because I'm about to figure out if I'm going to finish this podcast or not. Oh, that sucks. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Holy shit. Well, that was a fun 3 hours. If you're just now tuning in, guys, Unity just crashed. I accidentally put us in a while loop and didn't put a yield statement where it needed to be. And yeah. What I will do, we don't really have that many viewers. We got 7 people in here now. If you guys want, I can try and rebuild this. I don't know how long that would take. All the scripts are there. I just need to rebuild the damn scene again. Let me see what I have here. I have no idea why all of these are here. Let's get rid of those. Let me check the animations real quick, make sure the wrap modes are still the same. Wow, that sucks so much. Let me see here. All right, so the wrap modes are the same. I'll go ahead and let's see what happens if I do this. Let's add, let me see here. We needed a spawn manager. We need our spawn manager. Oh my god, this is so annoying. All right, guys. I think this is going to be the end of the podcast. Unless someone can say that they are willing to chill in here while I rebuild the scene after the major crash we just had. I don't know if it's really worth it. But let me see here. Oh, man, that sucks. All right, fuck it. I will go ahead and rebuild this. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this. Let's see here. Got to. We need our spawn manager. We need the enemy fab. Which I can't even add to that for some reason. Okay. Wow, Unity is acting all glitched out right now. I have no idea why. Hold on. No, Unity doesn't have an error. I accidentally crashed it, And now it's acting out. Oh my gosh, hold on. And close it out. You open it. Unity is not a happy camper. All right, so here's our spawn manager here. Let me see if I can just add this game object to it. No, I can't. I don't know why. It doesn't like that. All right, hold on. Let's just add a floor here. We got our ground. We don't even have our ground layer anymore. Ground. All right, let's see here. Ground. Oh my gosh, what am I looking for here? All right, so 50 by 50. 0, 0, 0. 50 by 50. Happen to our main camera here. It's -7. Let me see. We had a capsule here. This was our player. The camera was inside there. It was 0, 0, -7. We had our main camera, had a GUI manager on it. GUI manager had a texture of crosshair. Okay, and then we need a look Y object. Let's see here, look Y. All right, let's see. Let's get that back. So we got look Y. Main camera goes inside there. If I go ahead and just play this real quickly. I need to change. We have to change look Y again. All right. Look, main camera goes inside look Y. There we go. This was about 1, 1.5, 0.5, and 1. The player can go above the ground. Let's change our point light here. Get rid of that. Directional light. We get 30, 50, 30, 90. No, hold on. No directional light. 30. There we go. Okay, I need to add my ground material. Where's the materials? Ground material. All right, that's good. Now I can add the player model back. Where is the player model? All right, let's see. Here's the player. Let's go ahead and remove components. Capsule collider needs to be removed. We need to add a character controller back. Once in a great while, if you reboot your PC, you have 5 minutes to get back or end your broadcast. Oh, no, I'm not. Don't worry, guys. It's the crash it wasn't a Unity error, it was a user error. And I didn't save the scene before I did a while loop, which, by the way, guys, anytime you use a while true loop, always save your scene beforehand. So that was a mistake on my part. Let's go ahead and add this main back. There we go. Change that back to the color I want. All right, we're going to get rid of his rename this to player model. And I'm going to go ahead and say player. It's tagging this player. The player model is good. Play automatically off. Let's get rid of this mesh renderer. Alrighty. He looks good. He needs to be 1.8, 4 maybe. Oops, 0.4 and 1. There we go. Okay, he's good. Player is good. Let's add him back to all his stuff. He had a rifle script. What else did he have? He had a player script, player animation script. And was that it? I think that was it, right? Oh, I need a health script. And the maximum was 100. The minimum was 1. I'm going to go and save my scene like 20 times right now. Let me see. What else do we have here? We got that. Okay, we should be good here. Let's make sure the player's good. All right, player's back to normal. Let's fix its crosshair once we have the enemy back in here. Alrighty, now let's go and do the enemy. We had a cube here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and remove his box collider here. The enemy. Oh, and actually, no, hold on. This enemy prefab, what is it? Oh man, because I didn't save the enemy. Oh, that's annoying. All right, we're gonna have to recreate all that again. Alrighty, here we go. This is our enemy. Actually, I'm gonna keep it one. I'm gonna remove this box collider. I'm going to Earthborn Troll. We're gonna put the troll inside of him. We are going to remove the mesh renderer here. All right. And let's go ahead, we can make you 2x2x2. There we go, big and strong. Alrighty, and he has all his animations automatically off. Enemy, what did he have? He had a health script, he had an enemy AI script, he had an enemy animation script. He also had a health script. Max health was 100, min health was 1. Son of a, oh right, okay, hold on. And he had a character controller. Boom. Fix his character controller. It's a lot bigger, and actually it looks more scarier, so now I might keep that. Okay, I need to actually go ahead and move my camera up. So what I can do is I'm going to click on the look Y object here. Just going to bring that up. Great, see how that looks. All right, much better. Oh, I'm missing my look Y, my movement scripts. Allow me to look around. Look Y had the look Y script. Look X was on the player. Let's go and test this out. Alrighty, there we go. We are good. If I kill him, bam. Alrighty, we are good. We're back to normal. All right, so we were just working on the spawn manager, and we now need to create a prefab of our enemy here. So put them in the prefabs. I'm saving my scene like 20,000 times. Saving the scene. And now inside the spawn manager, let's go and add our enemy object here. Go into our spawn manager. Okay, now we should be okay. Jeez. There we go. Okay, so if you check this out, nobody is going to spawn because I actually didn't. Oh, no, they are spawning. Okay, so hold on. I must have already created the layer. Good. So we're good. They can only spawn if they hit a ground layer. So if I had buildings and terrain and stuff like that, and I only wanted them to spawn on certain parts, then we would be good to go. Right? And I'll never see anyone spawn. But it looks all professional and all that. Alrighty. We are back to where we left off, which is perfect. That's going to conclude the spawn manager for the most part. What I can do is to optimize it is obviously to keep your frame rate up. You don't want to have too many of the same monsters on the screen at the same time. So what you can do is you can actually, one second here. Let me hit pry on that. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete him. We don't need him anymore. And the ground, make sure the ground is layered. Oh, actually, oh, you know what? Hold on. It's not layered ground. I'm actually not sure how those guys were spawning. Layers, ground. Our spawn manager, is it still checking for ground? Edge. 1 bit shift 8. Okay, let me retest that. Okay, there you go. So it's still spawning them on the ground only. Good. I'm not really sure how it worked before. Shouldn't have. because we're setting a parameter where it only works on that layer, which is right here. And make sure that it's the right layer. It's, yeah, in layer mask. Good. Okay, we're done with the spawn manager. What I'm going to do though is make it to where it only will continue spawning them if it is less than a certain number. So what I'm going to do here is I can create a variable. For instance, I can say public int enemy count. Right, so enemy count. Or here, let's go ahead and say max enemies. So public int max enemies. And what I'm going to do here is every time an enemy is spawned, okay, every time it's spawned, what am I going to do? I'm going to increment that variable. So I need a max enemies and I need a enemy count. So enemy count. So every time an enemy is spawned, enemy count goes up 1. Okay, enemy count goes up 1. And then if physics.raycast hits and enemy count is less than enemy max, max enemies, right? So the count has to be less than the max enemies. If it's not, then you can't spawn anymore. All right, so if we only want 10 objects, then as long as it's less than 10, we'll spawn 10. All right. And max enemies, I'll say we have here public int max enemies, let's say equals to 10. All right, the current enemy count equals 0. So once you spawn one, you get one. Now that means that once you kill one, you have to decrease that value. You have to decrease the enemy count by 1 when you kill them. So now we need to go over the health script. So if it's an enemy, well, check this out. If it's an enemy, I can go ahead and say here, let's go ahead and do spawn manager because it's a skeleton. I can just access it like this. And then enemy count minus minus. So subtract 1. Save it. Can you make a GUI experience? Yeah, I'm going to be doing a, I'm going to do a full menu, a full main menu once we're done with this, once we're done with the core gameplay. Okay, so yeah, question asked was, are we going to make a GUI experience? Yes, we are going to make a graphical user interface. Whether I use the old GUI system or the 4.6 GUI will depend. If I use the old GUI system, it will look better because my book was updated for that. If it's not, if we use the 4.6, some of the images won't look right, but it will still work. So it's up to you guys, whatever you want. Okay, so if we go and test this out, make sure everything's good. We can get 10 enemies. I'm not going to actually wait for 10 of them, but I just want to make sure I can actually kill someone here. Alrighty, so now that we have our spawn manager done, spawn manager is working well. What we can do is let's go ahead and display, let's go ahead and start doing our game over stuff. For instance, or I'm sorry, let's go and do actually the enemy attacking us. So in order for the enemy to attack us, what they should do is basically they just need to touch us. So what we can actually do is we can create an empty object inside of them. Whoops. We can create an empty object inside, and it's going to be named attack. All right, so we'll say enemy attack. And this is going to be just a trigger zone to where if it touches me, then they can attack me. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, enemy attack, and I'm going to add a sphere collider. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just raise it up right there. And we're going to set the radius to 1.5. So if I get anywhere near that radius, then he can punch me. All right, that's what that means. Yeah, that's pretty good. So if I get in that radius, then he can punch me. And it needs to be a trigger because I'm going to be checking for a trigger. And then we also need a rigid body for the trigger to be activated. Alrighty. Now what I need to do is I need to make a script that's going to actually make this work. So I need to check for the player colliding with this trigger zone to damage the player's health. All right. So we're going to create a new C# script. We'll name it enemy attack. And we'll attach it here. And hit apply. All right, so I'm going to go in here. And this is going to be responsible for damaging the player. So I'm going to use void on trigger stay. I need to check if I'm staying inside the trigger zone. So on trigger stay, collider other. I just want to check to see if the other is the player. So other.tag equals player. And real quickly, let me make sure everyone is tagged. Get an enemy tag here. So our player is tagged player, our enemy is tagged enemy. If other.tag equals player, then we need to damage him, right? We need to access the damage function. And what we want to do is we can say other. We can say here, we can say health. We can say player's health equals other dot get component. We want the health script. All right, so we're going to say other dot get component. We want the health script, and we can say player health dot damage, and we'll damage say 10 every time. All right, now if I save this, okay, on trigger stay gets called as long as I'm staying, it's going to kill me immediately. So I need to create a cooldown system. So I'm going to go ahead and here I'm going to say private. I want them to attack maybe every 1 second. So I'm going to go ahead and say here private float can attack equals -1, or we'll say 0, I guess. And I would say -1. So can attack, and then we'll say private float attack delay. All right, the attack delay is going to be, or it's a rate, I guess. It's a rate. So attack rate equals 1 second. All right. So we have can attack and then attack rate. Now, if tag is player and time.time, which is how long the game's been running, is greater than can attack, and we're going to attack. And then after we attack, we're going to say the attack. We're going to say can attack equals time.time plus our attack rate. And now don't damage me 10 every second. So if I test this out, oh, got an error. Whoops. All right. I'm going to test this out. Oh, and actually, you have no idea if I'm getting attacked or not. So let's go ahead and draw our health on the screen. All right, so GUI manager over here. Let's go ahead and draw our health. In order to do that, I need access to the player. All right, so we're going to say player equals get component player. Not get component, game object dot find player and get component. All right, so I got the player and I want to display its health. So I'm going to go ahead and say here GUI dot label, and we'll say new rect. We'll say 10 from the top, 10 from the left, 10 from left, 10 from top. We'll say 100 by 25. All right, it's just going to say health. It's going to say, so I need access to the player's health, not the actual player. So this health. This is going to be underscore health. We're going to find the player, but we're getting the health component. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to grab his current health. So I'm going to say health dot current health, and then I'm going to say plus. I want this little slash thing here, plus and max health. So that way it's going to show it like if you have 50 health, it's going to say 50 out of 100, stuff like that. So we're going to say health dot max health. Alrighty, and that should be good. Let's go ahead and test that out. All right, I got 90, 80, 70, 60. All right, so it's working. What we can do now is we can go ahead and try. If it's not going to work, I'm not going to give two shits about it. Just because it might just be something's wrong with these models. I have no idea. But I'll try and do the attack animations for them. So for instance, if we go in here and do attack, enemy attack, when he attacks, after he, I guess before he damages me, let's go ahead and actually play that animation for him. So this is attached to this is a child. We need to get a parent object. So I'm going to say animation. And then, I don't need to do it every time. I'm going to do it in here. I'm We're going to say private animation. Right, and I need his animation, which is in his parent. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, anim equals get component in parent. And I want the animation component. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say here, anim.play. Let's see if it lets me do this. Is it punch one or something? Hold on. Models. Okay, he's got a TAC 01. Which one's better? We have that one and we have this one. Okay, we'll use that one. Yeah, we use this one, I guess. Or no, we use that one. All right, so attack-01. Attack-01. Let's see if he plays that. No reference object. The reason why I'm getting that is because I didn't do a correct handle. It looks like here, I need to get the parent of enemy attack. You know what? I can just find the enemy and do it that way. So get component in parent, game object dot find game object with tag enemy dot get component. Get the animation. Okay. There is no animation attached to the enemy object. Are you kidding me? Enemy. Oh, right. My bad, guys. I'm looking for the enemy. No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm looking for this object, right? Okay, so I'm looking at the get child count 0. Okay, so I need to find this object, which is troll. I need to basically just get one above me, which I think we can do in the same level. Basically, I need to say anim equals game object dot find game object. So we're going to go ahead and say game object dot get child count, I think. Game object dot find object of type. Object of type. Let me see if we can do this. Object of type animation. That's it. I want to look in the same order. There we go. All right, so as long as I'm in here, he's gonna punch me. Now, if I walk away, though, he's just gonna continue doing that animation. All right, because we need to actually tell him on trigger exit, he needs to continue to play his walk animation. All right. So what we're gonna do here is we have here void on trigger exit. And we're going to say collider other. And if you collide with if you leave the player, right, so if you leave the player, then you're going to go ahead and say we want to play a different animation. So anim. So we're going to say anim.play run. Let's see if this works. Nice if it did. Punching. Oh, Eddie's running again. Yay, it finally worked. There we go. And I can kill him. Oh, and his buddy's right there. Okay, now hold on. Actually, my raycast isn't working. I actually can't kill them. I'm not sure why. So let's figure out why the hell I can't do that. Oh, right. I believe my raycast, guys, is hitting their enemy attack object. I think I'm hitting their enemy attacked object. In order to do this, I need to tell the enemy attack object to ignore my raycast from my gun. Okay. The way I can do that, guys, is I have to do a layer for it. So I'm going to say here, this is the enemy attack layer. So I'm going to create a layer named enemy attack. Name this layer enemy attack, and I want it to ignore. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I didn't have to do that. I'm actually gonna go back to here. I need to tell this enemy attack game object to ignore raycast. That's by default already provided. Ignore raycast, and now it will work. So now everything is good. Yeah, so I'm saving. We are saving a million times here. We're not experiencing that crash again. Oh, okay, here's the problem too. You'll notice as soon as I went back into their trigger zone, they got back up and did that animation. The reason being is because that trigger zone is still active. So when they die, I need to destroy this object. So I need to destroy enemy attack. All right, so I need to say in the health script here, we need to destroy that function. Here, this is an enemy, we can say destroy. And I need to say here, get component in children, we want the enemy attack. All right, and that will fix that. Now you can't, now they'll stay dead. And he's dead. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and save my scene a million times. Okay, cool. So we have our spawn manager, we have our enemies attacking us, and we have our health being displayed on the screen. And we limited the spawn. So I'm trying to think what else is there that we could do. Oh, here, you know what? Let's clean up corpses. For instance, watch what happens when I kill this dude, all right, and then I focus more on his friends. Go over here, wherever. All right, you'll notice he stays dead forever. He's never going to get deleted. I'm going to go and create a script where when I'm looking this way, when I look this way, and I go back, if he goes off my viewport, basically, if he's not visible on my main camera, I'm going to just delete the object. As long as he's dead, it doesn't matter. So I need to check if he's dead. So I'm going to go and create a bool here. I'm going to say public bool. Actually, no, I'm going to do this through a game manager. Game manager usually controls the state of stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, and you know what? That's going to be actually for the player. And we can do it here. We can say public bool is dead. All right, by default, it's false. You're not dead. And then here, if current health is less than min health, then you're dead. So current health equals 0, is dead equals true. So what I'm going to do now is update in the health script, I'm just going to check and see if this object that we're on, which is going to be the dead guy, if the main camera is in view of it. If it's not, delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and say here, if I need to get the renderer component of this object. So I'm going to go and cache that. So I need to say here, private renderer, render. Let's say render. And then render. We're going to go and say render equals get components. We want our renderer. Actually, I'm sorry, we want the renderer of the child. We want get component in children renderer. I hope that works. All right, this has a renderer inside, the enemy, and then you have the troll who has a renderer. Okay, I think that's going to work. All right, so now what I can do here is I can say if renderer.isVisible, all right, if isVisible equals false, then destroy this.game object. All right, do I have an error? No. All right, let's go and test that out. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Oh, right, okay, my bad. The renderer happened because the camera lost view. I need to check if render.isVisible is false and isDead is true. You only want to do this if isDead is true. Jeez, that was scary. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go and kill this dude. As long as I'm looking at him, he's not going to delete. But as soon as I go like this, he's gone. See that? So I'm going to kill this dude. I'm going to look away, and he's gone. As long as they're out of my screen view, they will die. They'll get deleted. They'll corpse clean up, and you'll never see them delete in front of you. So it's a more professional look. Okay, cool. Let me see here. Trying to think what else there is. Okay, winning conditions really is going to be more so we have a helicopter, I guess, that can come down, and you have to like run to the helicopter. You run to that helicopter, and then you win the game. But the helicopter lands after like 30 seconds. So that's what I'll go and do. Real quickly, guys, just because we are at like 2 a.m. here, I just want to, I don't know if we have newcomers or not, make sure you guys are checking out the Facebook page and liking it, facebook.com/Digital Gaming Institute, or go to digitalgaminginstitute.com and like it on Facebook and Twitter. You can also feel free to promote this channel. We have 5 people live in here. If we get it to 10, I will give out free Steam codes. So we got 5 right now. And I'll tell you how you can get a Steam code. What I'm going to do now is we're going to do the win conditions. And the win condition is basically we're going to have a game manager, and it's basically going to say after 30 seconds we're going to spawn a helicopter. That's simple, right? Or we're going to have a helicopter come down, and the player has to run to it. So what I'm going to do here is create a game manager. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a new C# script here, and we're going to name it game manager. Game manager. All right, and I'm also going to turn that into a singleton. And I don't really need the game manager in the scene right now, but I'll add it just for whatever reasons. So we're going to just go in here, game manager. We've got a game manager there. We have our game manager script. I'm going to turn that into a singleton. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say here, print static game manager. Okay, we got our instance, the game manager. We get a property. Instance. We need to get information about the instance and return the instance. I got to check and see if the instance is null. So if instance equals null, then I need to create the instance by creating the game manager. New game object, game manager. Go.add component game manager. Actually, 1 second. Okay, I use 2 brackets. We're gonna use 2 brackets. We're gonna add the game manager. There we go. And then void await. I'm gonna say instance equals this. Okay, all right, we are good here. What we're gonna do now is this game manager is gonna be responsible for determining if you won the game or if you lose the game. So, for instance, we're gonna have a variable here called public bool player wins. By default, it's set to false. Now, when the player dies, obviously that bool is gonna be what? It's gonna be false. So we're gonna go into health here and player specific. Well, game manager instance dot player wins equals false. All right, so what we can do now is if the player dies, then player wins is false, and if player wins is false, then trying to think how to do this actually without creating another variable. Player wins equals false. Yeah, you can keep it like that. Player wins equals false. Player wins equals false. I do need another variable. Not only does player wins equals false, we're going to use that for something else. We're going to say in the game manager here, we're going to have another one. We're going to have public bool. Let me see. Player dead. Right, by default, it's set to false. So in health script, we're going to say .instance player dead equals true. And when the player is dead, we're going to display a game over image. All right, so I have here an image that we're going to use in our textures. That's game over. All right, so we're going to display this game over image. I need to set it to editor GUI. All right, and we're going to display it in the center of the screen. So the way we're going to do this now is we have our GUI manager that we're going to go into. We have our GUI manager here. All right, and we're going to check if the player is dead or not. So if game manager instance.player dead equals true, if he's true, then we need to display our game over message. So we're going to go ahead and create a texture to hold the image. Texture game over image. All right, and then we want to draw that texture. So we're going to go ahead and say, oh, this sucks. I'm not going to be able to use this again because it's a local variable. We're going to go ahead and say here, float, say game over image X, float game over image Y. And we're going to say game over image, just so we can center the image on the screen. And I'm just going to go ahead and say GUI.drawTexture. GUI.drawTexture. We're going to say game over image X, game over image Y, game over image, and game over image. Alrighty. And then here, game over image. And now we should be good to go. Let's go and test it out. Let's go ahead and die, and we should have a game over message. So I'm going to run over here. I'm going to let these two gangbang on me and die. All right, now we actually have a problem here. The variable game over image of GUI manager has not been assigned. Oh, right. Didn't assign it into the main camera. Our GUI manager doesn't know what image to display. So we set in the game manager, and now we rerun it. All right, and here we go. And there you go, game over. All right. So now that we have the game over there, what I can do here is let's go ahead and do the win one. What happens if the player wins? Well, we have here, first off, what is the win condition? So here we have void, player wins. We have void player wins. All right, and it's basically going to be after 30 seconds, or actually, no, it's actually going to be the helicopter is going to land. So I'm going to say void call helicopter. Call helicopter. Is it 2 L's in helicopter? I'm so tired, I can't even think. I think it's 1 L. Oh my god, it's gonna drive me nuts. One sec. All right, yeah, it's 1 L. All right, good stuff. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna create something to spawn the helicopter after 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, this function is going to get called. So void call helicopter. Yeah, we have call helicopter, and that's going to signify the helicopter to land. So tell helicopter to land. Helicopter to land, yeah. All right, and what I'm going to do here is in void start, I'm going to say after 30 seconds, call that function. So I'm going to say invoke function name, which is call helicopter. And then the time. I'm going to say, for testing purposes, we're just going to say 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, call helicopter gets called. And then the helicopter is going to land. In order for the player wins variable to become true, you have to touch the helicopter doors. Right? They open. So I'm going to go and do the helicopter stuff now. So I have a new model to bring in. We're going to get the helicopter going. Where is the helicopter that I have? Let me see here, one second. Okay, we've got our helicopter here in the models, importing that. All right, and we may need to actually save the UI for this game for another live session because I'm pretty sure this one may cut out at the 3-hour mark, and I don't know when that is. That could be very soon. Okay, so I got my helicopter here. I'm going to go and put that in the scene. I'm going to get rid of my enemy guy. I don't need that anymore. Save my scene. Here's my helicopter here. I'm going to just put that in the scene. Let's go and check out where it is. All right, it's very, very tiny, so I'm going to raise the scale factor of it. Let's make it about 1. Holy shit, that's way too big. Let's make it like 0.5. That's not going to do anything. Hold on. Make it like 0.05. Okay, now it's a little mini helicopter. So maybe 0.1. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's good size helicopter. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this. We're gonna put it over here, just over there, and we can give it a rotation. All right, so the goal here is I need this helicopter is gonna land, and I need to run up to the doors. All right, and the place it's gonna land is over here. It's gonna land there. Now, it doesn't actually have a landing animation, so I need to go ahead and create that for it. But it does have a chopper animation, and it opens the doors animation, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and, yeah, we're going to go ahead and create the animation for this thing landing. All right, so I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go into the animation view here. I'm just going to create a new clip, and I'm going to name it landing. Save it, and we're going to go in the record. All right, and the whole point is that this thing is going to start, right? The first frame is going to start at about way up here. All right, and then we're going to go to about the 5-second frame. It's going to take 5 seconds at least to land. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just bring it down. It's going to land. And what you'll see here is that I can control this. It will land. See? It's just going to land. And if I play it, it's obviously going to be too fast, but I can slow it down to 12. It's not too fast. 1. And there you go. So a helicopter lands. And I think I can keep that at 60 then. All right, let me make sure here. Should be good. Okay, so now we have in here, it's set up for animator mechanism here. So we're going to just change that. We're going to make it, this model needs to be legacy. And it should fix automatically. All right, so we got our helicopter here. It's got our flying, and it's got our landed. And the animation we just created, which is landing, is right here. Can't put it in there, but let's see if it lets us do this. Okay, no, hold on. That's a mechanism animation, so I need to convert it. So I change it to animation type 1, and that will convert it. So I get out of debug, go into normal. I click on the animation. You'll see I have wrap mode now. All right, so I just converted it from mechanism to legacy. All right, give me 1 second here. Let's see. All right, now we need to actually go ahead and script this thing. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a script for the helicopter. New C# script. We're going to name it helicopter. And I'm going to attach it to the helicopter. All right, and this helicopter is going to only have a few things. It's just basically it needs to land. So I need access to the animations of it. So private animation. Anim. Then what else do I need? I need, I also need access to, and that's it. Anim equals get component animation. I think that's right. Make sure. Yeah, good. All right, and what I'm going to do here is at start, I need to set a few things for the wrap mode. I need to say, I need to get the anim, I need to get the helicopter, the blades, the propellers. I think that's called flying. Let me see here. We have a few animations. Where is it? Yeah, so landed is the doors opening. So we have flying. Flying needs to constantly be playing. So we're going to set the wrap mode on flying to a loop. All right, so flying.wrap mode equals wrap mode.loop. And then we're going to go ahead and say anim blend the flying. Okay. What else I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and call on to the anim landing wrap mode equals wrap mode dot once. Stays at the bottom, hopefully. Actually, no, I think I want to do clamp forever on that one. Equals wrap mode dot clamp forever, so it stays on the ground. Yeah, that makes more sense. So stay on the ground, and then I'm also going to say anim dot blend. I'm going to go and say, actually, no, I'm just going to say anim dot. I can say blend. We're going to blend this one too. So we're going to play landing at the start, but I'm actually going to set the speed of it. So I'm going to say here anim landing dot speed. The speed of the animation is going to be 0, so it's actually going to be frozen until I set the speed to like 0.1 or something. Then it will actually come down. So if I test this out, though, the blade should be spinning and it should be in the air. Whoa, and the doors just decide to open. Hold on. Automatic is off. There we go. And then the landed animation, yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and just helicopter, we're going to set it to like 5. Whoops. I don't know why. 15. All right, so he's up there chilling. You'll see here in the scene view, there he is right there. Helicopter's blades are spinning, I hope. Can't see him for some reason. Oh my God, what just happened? Oh, okay, hold on. Something just glitched out big time. Okay, yeah, so if you see that, his blades are spinning, so that's perfect. Now what we want to do is we want to say, we want a function here that's going to control the landing of the helicopter. We have void land. I might actually need that update function, so I'm going to leave it. All right, so we got here, we have void landing, or land. This function is going to be in charge of calling the land function. Basically, we just need to we just need to see if the player's won. So for instance, here's our game manager. This is just the only function that this has is it's going to say player wins, or not player wins, but public bool land chopper. All right, and this function is just going to say land chopper equals true. That's all it's going to do. All right, and from the helicopter script, it needs to communicate. So from the helicopter script, it needs to know when to call it. So basically, it's going to say here, if land chopper equals true, if land chopper, if game manager, instance land chopper equals true, then what do we need to do? We need to go and call the land function. All right, we need to call land, and so we're going to say land. And the only thing land is going to do, it's going to say here, it's going to say anim, it's going to get the landing, and it's going to set the speed to 1. So now the speed is 1. If it was 2, it would be twice as fast. If it's a negative number, the animation actually goes in reverse. So it's pretty cool. Here we go. So we got that land, and then the doors need to open. So what I need to do now is, after doing this, because I don't want the function to get called repeatedly, I'm just going to go ahead and say here, going to say game manager instance.land chopper equals false afterwards. That way it just doesn't call it anymore. All right, and what I need to do is I need to open the doors only when the landing animation is finished. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go ahead and say here, I'm going to go ahead and say if, ooh, how do I do that? How do I get this state? Okay, so I think I can just say if anim, and then landed, or yeah, landed dot normalized time is greater than or equal to 1, and I want to go ahead and play, or I'm sorry, the landing. If animation landing is greater than or equal to 1, then I want to go ahead and say here animation dot blend landed. We want to make sure landed is clamped forever. So we're going to go ahead and say here anim landed dot clamp forever mode equals clamp forever. All right, let's go and see if that works. Let me see. Should we have to wait like 10 seconds here? And the helicopter should land on its own. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. Oh, I'm getting a get reference error. I'm not sure why. All right, hold on. So not happy with some of the things we did. Let's find out why. Let me see. Where is it? We have get component here. I'm not sure what it's not liking. Let me see. It's a pain in the ass. All right, hold on. We have 3 animations. We have flying, landing, and landed. Let me make sure there's a name properly. Flying, landed, and landing. All right, those are all clamped forever. Loop for flying, good. Let me see here. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I don't think I want to blend the landing. Wait a minute. I have landing, flying. This. Let's see, end up on flying, and then okay, we're going to also say anim.blend on land. Let's see. What is wrong with this? Okay, and then we need to check. Oh, right. Okay, you know what? Hold on. I can do it all right here. So I don't even need this. Okay, that makes sense. If anim landing normalized time is greater than equal to 1, then we want to say anim.blend landed. I think that should work. Let me see. And actually, I need to set the speed to 0 still. So we're going to say anim landed speed equals 0. And then we're going to go ahead and say here, anim.blend landed. And then, crap. Say anim.blend landed. And speed 1. Let's see. This should work. trying to think, where should I call this? Hold on. So we have the void start here. Ooh, man. So you know I'm getting tired. Let's see here. Doing the helicopter here. We have our flying wrap mode set to loop, climb forever. We're blending our flying, we're blending our landing. And we want landing. So we want landing to be 0. So it stays in the air until we tell it to. If the landing normalized time is greater than or equal to 1, then we blend landed. So landing is speed equals 1. So I need to call that function when it's time to. So this is going to be a public function here. And you know, can I get static? Public static void land. And can I say here? Oh no, here, I can still, yeah, no, we can do it right here. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's see if it lets me do this. We're going to say helicopter dot land. I don't know if it's going to like that. Yeah, it doesn't like that already. Or actually, hold on. An object reference is required to access non-static. Yeah, okay. Does not like that. So I need to get access to the helicopter. That sucks. All right, 1 second, guys. So void land is there. We're going to call that from the game manager. So when the helicopter function gets called, we're going to go ahead and say here, we're going to say helicopter h equals game object dot find helicopter get component. We want the helicopter script. All right, we're going to go and say h.land. And there we go. It's going to land the helicopter after 10 seconds. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out. So the helicopter's in the air. And we got a few errors here. Where is it missing a reference? If the anim's landing normalized time is greater than or equal to 1, then yeah, we want to blend. We're clamping forever. Flying and landing. Landing speed is set to 0. Why are we getting an error? Okay. Speed equals 1. Shit. What is wrong with this thing? Let's see. Anim equals get component animation. We got all the landing, landed, flying, landing, landing. If landing has finished, we want to blend landed, which is when the door is open. And then we call void land, which is saying the speed to 1 for landing. Oh my god, guys, my bad. I'm missing the animation. Duh, jeez. Thanks for telling me that, Unity. Okay, so what we're going to do here is landing. Add that. There we go. Alrighty, the helicopter's in the air, and after 10 seconds, it should land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, okay, and it landed. All right, and the door is opened. Now, it obviously landed way too freaking quickly, so we're going to fix that. We go into our landing animation here. All right, and we can actually slow down the sample rate. About 12. We'll see how that looks. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out. All right, and that's a lot better. So we're going to do that. All right, so let's wait 10 seconds. And the helicopter is going to land nice and smooth, and then the doors will open. All right, there we go. So now what's going to happen here is once it lands, I'm going to run up to these doors, and then that's when I'm going to be declared victorious. Right? Only then am I the winner. That's when we're going to turn the bool saying the player wins equals true. And real quickly, I'm actually just going to scale this helicopter down just a bit. I'm just going to say 0.8 or 0.5, 0.5. So, there we go. Let me just see how that looks real quickly. Alrighty. Gosh, yeah, we are, I've been working at this since around 11 o'clock, a full-fledged 3D game. That's perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I need to create colliders for the doors and to basically get a hold of that helicopter. So I'm going to go over here to the helicopter. I don't know why it's doing that. Not sure what's wrong with it. Stop that. Jeez. All right, well, I need to add colliders to these. So I'm going to go ahead and say a box collider here. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make colliders that are going to act as the door. Basically, we just need to check for a triggered collision between them. So we're going to make it 6, 7, 8. All right, and then we'll make it 5. All right, so now we have a trigger here that's going to act as our helicopter doors. And so the helicopter lands, yada, yada, yada. All right, and then doors open, and now there's a trigger in here that I can actually collide with. And when I do that, when I collide with that trigger, it's going to basically say, when I collide with that trigger, which we can do on the helicopter script here, when I collide with those doors, I need to declare myself the winner. I'm going to say void on trigger enter, collider other. All right, and I'm going to go ahead here and we're going to say, we need to check if it's the player. So if other.player, other.tag equals player, then we want to go ahead and call the game manager. So game manager.instance player wins equals true. All right, and then now we can go back to our GUI manager, and we can basically go ahead and create an image here to display. So we can go in here, we could say game over manager.instance.player dead, or we can say player wins equals true. We have a different image that we're going to display. We have public texture win image. All right, so we're going to display the win image. So we say here win image X, win image Y, got win image. This is going to be win image X, win image Y, win image. All right, and then win image. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my win image to this, and that's the you survived. All right, so I'm going to go and click on my main camera here where my GUI manager is, and then we have a win image that we're going to display. All right, that's going to be displayed in the center of the screen. So what I'm going to do now is the helicopter is going to land. All right, after about 10 seconds here, the helicopter will land. The doors will open. I just got to survive these dudes long enough. Helicopter lands, doors are opened. I just got to run up to it, and then I'll be victorious. And it says, congratulations, you survived. All right, and it's a little big, and that's because I actually didn't change the texture type like I was supposed to. I can make an editor legacy GUI, and there you go. Now, hopefully, it might still be too big. We'll find out though. Actually, not sure if it's actually even. So let's go ahead and just test it out real quick. Take a look. All right, run to the helicopter. And bam, congratulations, you survived. If I want, we can make it a little smaller, so we'll do that. You survived, we'll make it a 512 by 512. All right, let's go and see how that looks. All right, there we go. Congratulations, you survived. All right, so that pretty much wraps up, for the most part, the core gameplay. I'd say after the main menu, I would go back in and do some more polishing, like for instance, making maybe so enemies can't attack me after I'm dead, or displaying how many displaying how many enemies I killed. I can also do, like, for instance, I want to add an ammunition system. I want to add power-ups, like collectible items. You can collect ammo, collect health packs. And maybe once I get to the helicopter, reverse the animation to where the doors close and then you land, or you fly back up. I think I'm going to go ahead and end the live session here. So for everyone who attended tonight, thank you. It's 2:45 a.m. here, so I'm exhausted. We have the core gameplay done. In the next live session, I'll go ahead and create a menu. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the 4.6 UI or the old GUI legacy UI. I don't have the artwork for the 4.6 one, but I have artwork for the legacy UI, which is the old one. So I'll probably go ahead and do that, and we'll create a full-fledged type menu. But yeah, no. Hopefully, if I keep doing these live streams, they're good. We'll get more viewers, but otherwise, yeah, it's not a big deal. Make sure you follow on digitalgaminginstitute.com. Follow on Facebook and Twitter. You can check out we'll be doing an alpha release pretty soon on the new DGI tutorial engine that we'll be releasing on the asset store. So definitely check that out. But all right, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.